Marissa Guevara Diaz. Hi, Marissa. Hi, Annette. Slimy Show. Carol Boyce John. All is well. All is well. Kathy Ann Best. Good afternoon to you. Macaroni Tony. Greetings. Alana Gonzalez. Good afternoon. Jennifer Ferron. Shah. Good afternoon. Kenneth Gabriel. Greetings, sir. Slimy Show is asking what I did for the people this week. Oh boy. This was a week. Continue to see CPEP workers who looking for work. We do what we can. But it's a lot because it's every week at least 10 people, former CPEP workers coming looking for help. And some of them based on previous, some of them have some skill sets that allow us to be able to find alternative employment for them. We've established relationships with some of the supermarket chains in the constituency. Fortunately, we have most of the big supermarket chains in the constituency. We have Massey, Food Basket, Extra Foods. So those who are willing to work at these establishments, we have the industrial estate. So we have been able to partner with some of the factories there to get work for some people. So it's coming along, but yeah, we shouldn't have had to be in that position. But anyway, think for yourself. Greetings, Angie Sherry. Hi, Angie. Lennox Ramdani. Greetings. Jeremy Lewis. Greetings to you. Rutrud, Desh Rubin, and Maria. Greetings. So we also have our back to school drive on. We were able to, a few CPEP workers would have come in and dropped off book lists. We have been able to fill a couple. Fortunately, I went to a memorial service last week for one of my constituents who passed away recently, and I met a couple of folks there who indicated that they are willing to assist in filling some book lists as well. So we're working on that. So people coming forward. We have big hearts in the constituency who understand what some of these people are going through, because we had 9 CPEP gangs or 9 CPEP contractors in the constituency. That's 270 persons who are now displaced. Yeah, so it's yeah, up and down. Miriam Castellano, MWX De Roche, greetings. Karen Spooner, Desh Rubin, hi Desh, Leon Graves, greetings, sir. What do we have on Facebook? Deborah Duranty, Heather Lee, David McIntyre, greetings. Joan Austin, Sherwin Humphrey, my friend, how are you? Clinton Aline, greetings. Hi Diane, gosh, Diana Sawyer, yeah, Miss Call, I'm supposed to call you back, because sometimes it's just, yeah. As MP, people invite you, the amount of things that you get invited to is insane. Yeah, it's like practically every time I open my email, there's an invitation to something. Yeah. Sarah Richards, greetings. Yeah, so as always, as I've had to start recently, it's been a while. So between doing MP work, my private profession, and, well, Parliament is on recess for now. Yeah, it's a lot. So let me get this here. As I said, I'm still fighting to get back the zeal to do this. Sedena Kwashi, greetings to you. The place is now living up to its name. Lagoon, stink bush, and rubbish all over. Oh my gosh. Margaret Thomas, Wazid Bakradan, greetings. Donna Seeley. I hear you, Sedena. I see. Sometimes these things just happen for people to appreciate the work that CPEP workers were doing, right? And URP workers, because your Prime Minister, and she said the PNM was promoting a nation of grass cutters, everybody cutting grass, CPEP cutting grass, URP cutting grass, the regional corporation workers cutting grass, NGC cutting grass, everybody cutting grass. And there must be more to it than that, and people can't be cutting grass. But these people had no problems cutting grass, and they were doing a very good job. But that's not all they were doing, because I can tell you in my own constituency, in the 3 months since I have been MP, for the first couple of months before the goodly government would have asked these people employment, sometimes things like clean up, it have certain places people dumping garbage and indiscriminately, and it looks unsightly, and I would just call one of my contractors and say, listen, what you could do for me? I take a picture, send it to them, you could assist, your workers could come and do something, sure, no problem. Say less MP, and by the time 2 days pass, it done. Yeah, while I was campaigning, met a lot of people who have open lots next door to them, across the road from them, the bush high, nobody coming to cut it. Call one of my contractors, listen, so is the case. You could assist? No problem, MP. Get it done, right, at no cost. Send the gangs to do it, on the team to do it, and think good. Now, you're seeing the effects of not having CPEP. You think this government cares? Oh, no. All their focus is on who did what and who extend and who didn't have the power to extend and all kind of thing, and talking about fraud and all kind of nonsense, and what Faris do and who do what and who didn't have cabinet approval. All that is rubbish. Rubbish. At the end of the day, if the UNC was not known to be a vindictive party, then there would have been no need to extend the contracts. No need. But we knew what they were going to do when they came into office. They did it in 2010, fired 527 URP workers because they were perceived to be PNM. 527 of them, they came together, filed a class action suit against the state, and then the last administration in 2018 ended up having to pay some $22 million to these workers who were displaced by that administration. And so when I see their supporters coming on social media talking about rubbish and nonsense about corruption, and you heard Kamala Prasad-Bissessar speaking at the budget consultation, I think, in her constituency, talking about how her own supporters, UNC supporters, upset with her and upset with the government because they were hoping that they would just replace CPEP and URP, meaning they would get rid of all the PNM, the so-called PNM contractors, and just hand over these contracts to UNC people. And because that didn't happen, all who was licking the chops and checking how many CPEP contracts they were going to get, they vexed because they didn't get through. And all was planning to get how many projects, URP projects, and so on, and counting how much money they were going to get. And it didn't happen. So now they vexed with the UNC and they vexed with the government because they would have worked so hard during the election to promote their propaganda and to convince people to either vote for the UNC or not vote at all, spreading lies and misinformation. They succeeded, and now they're looking for compensation. They want compensation. What's going on? Now you're seeing a lot of the activists all over the place on social media doing videos complaining, crying. Oh, they thought they would have get this, and they thought they would have get that. One who goes by the name Nicholas Jiker and cussed the PNM and cussed Dr. Rowley stink. And now he's doing live, saying he thought when the UNC came in that he would have been able to get a grant to fix his roof or grant to fix his house. But the amount of paperwork and all of that they want from you just to get a simple little grant. And he's so disappointed, and he asking, he wants to get 4 of those wooden TNTech poles so he could put up some shed or something like that. So if anybody could assist him with that. Yellow is the code. When UNC wins, everybody wins. What's going on, Nicholas? You didn't win? How come? All the rest of them, y'all didn't win? Well, they malign the last administration. Well, I saw this one. The one who goes by the name Cuban boy, right? The Cuban fella. Another one who was also on the bandwagon of cussing the last administration. His support for the UNC, everybody knows that when you looked at some of his videos, none of which I found to be funny. But he was one of them too, bashing the PNM, bashing Dr. Rowley. Yeah. all of that, and supporting Kamla. He loved to put on his UNC jersey and so on. Now, I don't know if he was one of those who was alleged to have benefited from the 40,000 that they were paying during the election campaign, but I saw a video yesterday or pictures rather, my boy opened a fragrance business. So he now has a business selling perfumes and colognes from Dubai. So if in fact, if he did receive the compensation for maligning the PNM during the election campaign, it seems he would have put his money to good use. Same cannot be said for some of the others. I don't know, I just say it. Because all the time he's suffering under the PNM, he's struggling, he has no money, this and that, and Rowley wicked and the PNM this and all that. But all of a sudden, my boy opened business because you need to have seed capital to be able to import fragrances from Dubai. Thing ain't cheap. He opened a whole store. Now he's proud to boast that he's a businessman. He's not from Trinidad and Tobago. He's from Cuba. He has a business. While the trainees complaining about this suffering and think hard and they can't find work and this and that, Cuban boy open a store. So we're going on with all you. He win. When UNC wins, he win. What do you want to do the rest of it? What do it all you? I'm not saying that the man get money. I just, timing, the timing is just a little coincidental. All the time you're suffering. Up until a few months ago. One time you was complaining, you lost your job and you're looking for help, and now the man open a business. Good for him. Good for him. Yes. So they continue to talk about the CPEP and the CPEP, and I'm amazed at the hypocrisy of UNC supporters. Of course, I had to tone it down a bit being MP and have to serve everybody, PNM and UNC and whatever else is maybe your political persuasion, right? But sometimes, if Philip Alexander and Anil Roberts and David Naked, who are government ministers and who took an oath to do right by all men without fear or favor, affection, or ill will, apparently they forgot that part, that they all took that oath. But you all are government ministers, you all have access to state resources. Your job, more so than that of the respective MPs, is to serve the people. Everybody, regardless of whether they're supporting PNM, UNC, TPP, Patriotic Front, or whatever other party. You all are ministers. You all are the custodians of public monies. And you all come in and they doing live and all kind of thing and cussing PNM stink and saying all kind of the worst things about PNM supporters. So PNM supporters are not citizens too. You all seem to forget you took that oath, eh? Just reminding them now. Clearly that oath meant nothing. It was just a formality. They say I have to do that to get paid. So let me say it. But it meant nothing to them. So if they could do it, and they are government ministers, I'm not a government minister, I'm just a member of parliament. I don't have access to resources like they do. All I could do is beg. When people come to me for help, I just tell my assistant, send a letter for this one, send a letter for that one, follow up and find out what's going on with this, follow up and find out what's going on with that. But here I can't pick up the phone and call a minister and say, do this for me, do that for me. I don't have that wherewithal, that facility. So if they could come and batter up PNM and say the worst thing about PNM supporters, allow me now. Let me say something about the supporters at the other side too. All right? I will say, reading some of the comments on social media from some of these UNC supporters, my gosh, if hypocrisy was a party, I saw a post yesterday, I think it was CNC3 or one of them, talking about the impact of the CPEP workers not having their jobs and people complaining, the grass growing high and whatnot and so on. Kudos to the mayor of San Fernando for the work that he is doing in employing some of these CPEP teams to do cleanup work around the city of San Fernando. So, they have the tools, they're just there idle, and however it is that it's being done, kudos to you. And to all the other PNM corporation members and so on who are trying to do likewise, We're trying to do what we can. Never don't mind the fact that we weren't successful in the first round of the lawsuit, but all is not lost. And to all those who figure, well, the PNM just doing that for PR, it has nothing to do with PR. What they just doing, trying to ride the back of the CPEP workers and stuff. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that these people coming to us every week on office day looking for help. And they're not just looking for jobs, they're looking for assistance because they got, some of them have gotten eviction notices from their landlords and they're about to lose the roof over their heads because both husband and wife were working at CPEP and so there is no income. School about to open. Some of them have 3 and 4 children with book lists and who need sneakers and who need school bags and uniforms and all of these things. And they need help. And so when they come to us every week, and it's not the same people coming every week is a different batch because we can only see so many people every week. And so when they keep coming and they're looking for help, some of them come and they tell you they walk from wherever it is they live in. They don't have passage. They don't know how they're going back home. They don't know what they're giving the children to eat when they go back home. So what do we have to do? Dip into our pockets and get them something. Here, hold on. Might be able to assist them to buy something to eat for maybe 2 to 3 days. But so when it is that you all were happy that Stuart Young lost his pension, his prime ministerial pension, and as I've said before, understand the ramifications of that. That you all figure that when MPs get paid, it's just about them and they do it for the money and the this and the that. It's not about that. For all of us, a lot of what we earn from Parliament ends up going back into the constituency to help people because every week people come in for help. Every week. And you can only do so much. Telling my colleagues from Laventille West, Laventille East Mova, Diego Martin West told me in the first month their whole salary went into helping people come into their office for assistance. But eventually they had to set a cap and say, well, okay, this is how much we could give for the month. And as soon as they help one, they're going to tell somebody else, and then everybody come in for help. But they said when UNC wins, the PNM don't like poor people, suffering poor people. Think bad under the PNM. We eating grass, people suffering. Really? Let's do a comparative now. Do a comparative and see. Where you saw the video with all those people yesterday, was it? Yeah, no, yeah, not yesterday, the day before, who were lined up by some bookstore or something down in South looking for help to fill book lists. And they had to come and tell them, hey, it's a little overwhelming. So we cut off for today and we only seeing 50 people per day. But things were supposed to get better under them. That's what you all voted for. Some of you all who didn't vote because you couldn't stomach voting for the PNM. Couldn't stomach it. I couldn't even hold my nose and put my X by the balize and then hold the government account afterwards. No. I just can't do it. Well, elections have consequences. We see them. 3 months. 3 months. Over 30,000 people are now on the breadline. 30,000 people who up until the 28th of April, when the PNM was in office, had jobs. Some of these jobs, the pay wasn't all that great, but at least they were able to put food on the table, they were able to pay some bills and so on, and it filled a hole. Now, nothing. They got paid 1 month. So I was saying, I saw this story, I think it was on CNC3, where some people were complaining about the grass growing high outside their homes and stuff, and work that CPEP would have done and taken care of. And I'm reading the comments with UNC supporters. Out of shame having to defend the government because otherwise they have nothing really to speak about, nothing to crow about. A lot of the things that they want to say the government did in the last 3 months is really fruit that is now bearing from things that the PNM would have done. Right? So the last PNM administration would have sown the seeds, and now the fruit, we're now seeing the fruit. And the shameless government has no problem in taking credit for a lot of these things. Right? A lot of these things they want to take credit for. For instance, I see ExxonMobil is supposed to be coming to do some exploration with respect to some seven areas or something like that. 7 blocks or so. And I mean, as you see, look at as soon as the UNC come in, watch that thing all of a sudden. No. If you all had listened to the news story, you would see since November last year, Exxon had expressed interest in those blocks, right? And negotiations and talks started since then. Who was in government in November last year? Not the UNC. So all of that started before the general election. And it's only now that we heard, Munilal has not confirmed, but that they're close to signing on the dotted line if they haven't done so as yet, right? But it didn't start with the UNC. So again, wanting to take credit for what the PNM did. But then the PNM had to take licks because all these things were happening. And why is it that we only hear about it now? That Exxon had expressed interest since November last year, but only now we hear about it. And that was the downfall of the last administration. Maybe if they were like this current administration, right? Every little thing that they do, you're seeing it. TTT, they're ripping TTT. They can't, if they tie, one of them tie their shoelace in, TTT had to do a story on it. Sweet 100, which is one of the radio stations that I listen to most. Every time, all kind of advertisements, the Prime Minister say this one thing, all kind of ads they run in. Sweet 100 never used to run ads, so government talking about what the government did and so on. Now, you're hearing that. Every little thing, you're going on social media, all of them, using it. Can't miss. You can't say they didn't do nothing. Never mind the fact that it perhaps has not really, it's not of their own initiatives. But they can't miss everything. One of the things that upset me, social development. I'm seeing where the Minister of Social Development is highlighting, taking pictures and so on of people receiving grants. Whatever happened to dignity? The people apply for a grant. If they get through, give them the grant, they qualify, and let them go their way. Why they need to come to the office and come to the minister's office and take picture and all kind of thing to post up on social media for everybody to see the people get a grant? Or go allow the people a little dignity and let them lie. If they want to lie and say they work hard and save the money to fix the house, allow them that. But when it is you have to pappy show them, well, if you come down to the office on such and such day and the minister is going to distribute the grant and you take a few pictures with the minister. When people come to my office, let me just tell you, every week when constituents come to my office to see me, right? So my operations coordinator sometimes will come and ask the people if they would mind, just taking a photo, not showing their face, but from the back. So to post on the Facebook page, just to show that. Now, sometimes when that is done, I understand why it's being done, and sometimes I cringe because the people know. So far, nobody has said no, they don't mind. Some of them say, "Nah, I don't mind showing my face." I said, "No, we don't need to see a face. Just take the picture from behind. It's okay." And they take it and we post it up. But for me, I don't need that. You see, I am not a camera person type, right? I feel people when I work, people would see the work. I don't need to take a picture or do a video to show you, look, the MP doing his work and look, he doing his work and looking for public applause. And I don't need that. I didn't offer myself for that. I'm not looking for self-aggrandizement and fame. We have a job to do. We get paid to do a job and do the job. If people want to say they didn't see the MP and the MP doing this and so what, I'm going to post up on Facebook every day for you to see the MP. I have an office. Come and see me. I haven't really started working the constituency yet because there's a lot of work that we're doing behind the scenes. So when I go on some Facebook pages, people tag me. They have a water issue. They have a problem with this, a sewer line issue, whatever it is, and people constantly tagging me on Facebook. I take a look at it. I respond. Let them know, duly noted. I will contact the relevant authority to address the situation. When the situation is corrected, I will simply go back and respond to the person, ask them, tell them, well, was it done to your satisfaction, as the case may be? And they say yes or whatever. I don't need to go by the place or go by the project and take a picture and say, hey, look, the MP do something. If others want to do that, that's on you. Don't look for me to do that. I'm not about that. So, but for them, you ain't seen them posting them doing anything in their constituencies. Nothing. Whatever it is they're doing in the ministry, you're seeing that all the time. Can't miss. The commissioner standpipe, you had to see that. They patch 2 pothole, they had to show that. The commissioner, they pave 1 kilometer road, they had to show that. Everything. Look, they dress up in East Indian way or African way, they had to show that too. Come on now, man. That's what they get elected for. But I was pointing to the hypocrisy of the UNC supporters under that post, talking about, oh, you don't need the government, and thing. And they're doing it for themselves, and they could clean, why I can't clean in front of your house and whatnot. And you know what? I don't have no grass in front of my house. You know why? Because I went outside and I cleaned it for myself. And why I can't think, they're too lazy and all of that. But when Dr. Rowley said some years ago, we know of the government, the same hypocrites, the same UNC hypocrites who today wanted, all of a sudden they realized, they remember they have the capacity to do things for themselves and clean up around their house. So they said, these same hypocrites were quick to remind Dr. Rowley that it's taxpayers' money paying for that. That the government money is not his money. And it costs him stink. Right? We know of the government is not your money. It's we taxpayers' money paying for this and paying for that. But today, the same thing. That's why we have corporation workers and we had CPEP and URP to do that. But all of a sudden, no, we don't need that. We can do that for ourselves, man. We don't need to burden the government with that. We could win off. All of a sudden, they could win off the government. That's why we're paying property tax. So the property tax that you paid last year, those of you who paid, you're entitled for the state to pay for that. Those were the things that your property tax was supposed to cover. If a pothole in front of your house, but since all they want to win off the government, well, here what, the pothole in front of your house, why you not go and buy some pitch? Huh? Or buy some oil sand and fix it for yourself. Since you want to tell people about you don't need to do, you can do it for yourself and you don't need to depend on the government for everything. Well, fix the pothole now. Your road full of potholes, pave the whole pothole. All the potholes. Why? You go and talk to all your neighbors and all your pitch up, come together, pool your monies, buy a load of whatever material and all your pave the road and say we don't need the government. We can do it for ourselves because all of a sudden, you all are civic-minded citizens. When the PNM in power, yeah, every little thing, the government, but we paying tax. We're paying taxes for paying tax money and not, yeah, hypocrites. Me and all it. But let me give you all another example of hypocrisy. Right? Give all it. This is an Express article dated the 15th of August, 2016. And all in all, I like to go down memory lane. I saw the Prime Minister went down memory lane the other day in the Parliament when we had to debate the extension of the state of emergency, talking about PNM. And it was a PNM Prime Minister who first labeled gangsters community leaders. Really? I say, but that's not how I remember it. Granted, I was in secondary school at the time, but that is not how I remember it. And I spent a lot of time on memory lane. So I just want to tell the Honorable Prime Minister, the next time you decide to go down memory lane, I suggest you use Waze. Use Google Maps. Because it seems when you just decide to go down there blind, for some reason you end up making a detour on misinformation circular. Right? Or you end up on revisionist boulevard. So use Waze so you can stay on track instead of making the wrong turn and giving misinformation and wrong information. Because the fact is that it was not, contrary to her representations in the Parliament, it was not Patrick Manning who first labeled gang leaders as community leaders. Right? And I've heard them talking that nonsense before. In fact, she's mentioned that before. Not only her, others as well in the UNC. That is wholly incorrect. The first person to label gangsters, so-called gang leaders, as community leaders was Basdeo Pandey in about 1998 or 1999, thereabout. When he first labeled a gentleman by the name of Sean Bill Francis, who was an alleged gang leader from Laventille. Mr. Francis was in league with the UNC. In fact, Mr. Francis went up as a candidate for the UNC in the local government election, I believe, in 1999. And when it is, the media posed a question to Mr. Pandey, asking him whether or not he was of the view that Mr. Francis's selection as a candidate could hurt the image of the UNC. Mr. Pandey's response was, everybody deserves a second chance, and Mr. Francis is a community leader. That is when the term was first mentioned. So contrary to the misrepresentation of the Prime Minister, that was wholly incorrect. So next time you all want to come up with your nonsense and blame and say the PNM in league with criminals and gang leaders and so on, check yourself. She was a part of that administration in 1999. Okay? So maybe they could go and do a little search. That's why they call in Parliament the members for Labrian and Point 14 refer to me as Google man. I tell them, it don't take long for me to just pull up, you see my memory sharp. As I said, I spend a lot of time on memory lane. Doing this requires that you spend a lot of time on memory lane. And I remember I was probably maybe Form 3 or Form 4 at the time. I remember it well. That's part of the reasons why I decided I could not align myself with the UNC. Right? So just to correct the record for the Prime Minister, and I know some of them listening, because that same session we had to debate the extension of the SOA, the Prime Minister mentioned that one of her ministers informed her that a member of the opposition had indicated that we did not receive the draft proposal or the draft bill for this stand your ground legislation. We did not receive it. And she said that a copy was sent to the leader of the opposition. So the only member of Parliament who would have said that publicly, the only opposition MP who would have said that publicly was myself in the last live that I did, where I indicated that we, the opposition MPs, could not hold consultations on that legislation in our constituencies because we were not in receipt of the draft legislation. And there are only 13 of us on the opposition bench. So if it is you all sent it to the opposition leader, would I kill you all to just send it to the next 12 hours? One time? So that the sham that they're running now, saying that they're doing consultations on this this stand your ground legislation, is wholly, the way that they're doing it is wholly incorrect. Because most of these consultations, if not all of these consultations, have been taking place in UNC constituencies hosted by UNC MPs. This is supposed to be national consultations, where you're supposed to have it in a forum, place where a neutral place, where persons, regardless of their political affiliations, could feel comfortable to come and sit down and listen and ask questions. But if you're a supporter of the PNM, you ain't going to no UNC consultation, where the majority of people are pro-UNC. And if you have a view that is opposed to theirs, that they're likely to start to make a set of ruckus and do you and run you out, you're not going through that. So this, what they're doing here, how they're conducting these consultations, in my view, is wholly incorrect. What they were supposed to do is to adopt a model similar to what the RIC did when there were consultations with respect to the proposed increase in TNTEC rates. Neutral space that allows for everybody, regardless of your political persuasion or political affiliation, to feel comfortable to attend and to ask questions. So this sham they're running ain't fooling nobody, but that's okay. That's ammunition for us when the bill comes to the Parliament to be debated. We can raise that issue. But anyway, so I was making the point of the hypocrisy of the UNC, right? Express article dated 15th of August 2016. Munilal claims plan to axe 12,000 CPEP workers. Yeah, Munilal claims plan to axe 12,000 CPEP workers. Former Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Dr. Rudal Munilal, is condemning what he claims is government's decision to dismiss contractors employed by this Community-Based Environmental Protection and Enhancement Program, CPEP. In a statement yesterday, Munilal said dismissing contractors during the July-August vacation period would put an extra strain on their employees who were preparing for the new school term next month. He also said he expected more flooding as a result. I strongly condemn the planned move to arbitrarily dismiss contractors and almost 12,000 workers of the CPEP Company Limited. The publicly advertised plan would displace several contractors who have invested in equipment and are the employers of thousands of dedicated working class citizens. This harsh and oppressive measure is taking place on the eve of the start of the school year, when parents are required to spend significant sums of money on their children's future. The dismissals of contractors and workers are further severe elements of the dismantling of key aspects of the operations of this state-run environmental company. The People's Partnership Administration had carefully developed, nurtured, and expanded the remit of CPEP to make it an all-embracing organization involved in extensive and continuous environmental protection and improvement. The company's sphere of activity is extended to marine and non-traditional environmental functions. Waxing poetic. As the line minister for CPEP, I was particularly pleased with the role and performance of the organization, its contractors and dedicated employees, he said. According to Munilal, a major reason why there were no widespread floods between 2010 and 2015 was CPEP's innovative mandate of small-scale environmental projects and flood alleviation policies. Regrettably, the current administration has abandoned this critical aspect of CPEP's mission. I therefore predict more floods, property damage, and terrible inconvenience to come across the land as a result of the mismanagement and lack of vision at CPEP. The wanton firing of contractors would result in fewer cleanup activities and more blockage of watercourses, leading to more suffering of residents across the country. The CPEP marine cleanup exercises also removed tens of thousands of items of waste and pollution from the ocean. In April, Planning Minister Camille Robinson-Regis said government was undertaking a review of the expenditure, performance, output, and efficiency of CPEP. She said CPEP had lost its way, adding that it cost $606 million in 2015, which was more than double the annual cost of the program under the previous PNM from 2002 to 2010. She had said a decision concerning CPEP would be taken by the end of April. Attempts to get in contact with Housing Minister Randall Mitchell yesterday were futile. See? Here are all the things here, how we talking about CPEP so good and all kind of thing, and this wicked and evil PNM government that contemplating firing all these contractors and sending home all of these CPEP workers. This is the same Rudal Munilal who is today the Minister of Energy in 2016, the 15th of August, condemning. The government then said, look, we're looking to review. Yeah, all the things, the same thing. We're going to review, but they were able to review and so on. Look at the efficiency of the program, I quote correctly. Planning Minister Camille Robinson-Regis said the government was undertaking a review of the expenditure, performance, output, and efficiency of CPEP. But they were able to do it without firing the contractors and without sending home almost 12,000 workers, as Munilal said in it. So in 2016, he knew all the reasons why you shouldn't fire the contractors, regardless of any belief that there might have been corruption in the program. Don't punish the contractors. Don't punish the 12,000 workers. Why do that? Look at, if you do this, look what will happen. Increased flooding and mosquito and all kind of thing and the hardships. And especially, here the height of the hypocrisy. In a statement yesterday, Munilal said dismissing contractors during the July-August vacation period would put extra strain on the employees. But what they do? Not the same thing? Not the same thing? July-August vacation is not where we are now. So in 2016, it would put additional strain on the employees who were preparing for the new school term. They ain't put no strain on them now, Munilal. Huh? You forget this, you forget you said this then. So you were a wise man then, you understood the implications of firing the contractors and displacing these almost 12,000 CPEP workers. And now you are part of the administration who did the very same thing that you condemned in 2016. But Jacques, when I say yesterday was yesterday and today is today, or as my partner Marvin would say, white jacket, black jacket. Yeah? But the hypocritical supporters, right? All the reasons why the government needed to do this, and the government did the best thing they could do, and the best decision because the corruption, they had to weed out the corruption. But there were allegations of corruption in the CPEP between 2010 to 2015. And when based on what we just read there, when the PNM administration indicated that they wanted to do a review, you all were up in arms. You all were so concerned about these CPEP workers and their families and how will they eat. How would they put food on the table and send the children to school? And the government that you support, the party that you support now in government, has come and done the exact thing. Let's understand the difference. The same PNM who always say don't like poor people, and the same PNM who wicked and evil and care about the poor and only care about the 1%, they were able to do their review without displacing contractors, some of whom were UNC. Because if anybody believes that between 2010 to 2015, UNC didn't give any CPEP contractor their supporters or their people, you need a checkup from the neck up. You need something. There's nothing wrong with you up there. So some of these contractors would have been UNC contractors, but the PNM didn't send them home. The PNM then make wanton allegations of corruption and say, right, this is what, and we need to shut down the program. Now they went from, well, don't worry, the program will be restructured and you'll get back your work. Now they can't give a timeline. Might be 6 months, could be more. Who knows? We're not sure. But just know, behind the scenes, what we're doing now. We're doing what we had to do. So relax. In the meantime, see what I could do now. Go and look for work. Hopefully by the time we figure it out, many of you all would be employed elsewhere, and so it wouldn't matter if the contractor that you used to work for, if that contractor happens to get back the contract, if they don't take you back, it's okay because you'll be gainfully employed elsewhere, so it works out for us, right? So see what I could do. Fend for yourself. And also to correct another misrepresentation that was made by the Prime Minister talking about the CPEP contractors would have received money to pay the workers, and therefore if the workers aren't paid, that is on the contractors. The Prime Minister ought to know that that is not how the system works. Okay? It is the CPEP company who pays the workers. The only thing that the contractors are responsible for is the payment of NIS and health surcharge, right? And they get a fee from the government, a monthly fee, to manage the teams. So they would purchase the equipment, the waka and the net and whatever else, the wire for the waka and the gas and whatever it is. So they manage the projects. They hire the people, they find the people. All right, come, you want to work, and think, no problem. Fill out this form here. We send down the form to CPEP, right? So CPEP get them your bank account number and everything. They will send the money to your bank account. Our responsibility is really to manage you all on a day-to-day basis and provide you with the tools that you need to do the job. But it is not the contractors. So the contractors did not receive any money to pay their workers. That's not how it works. So for the Prime Minister to come to the Parliament and make that representation, but then again, it's par for the course with them. They put that out there, and the supporters run with it. So then to say, well, if people saying they didn't get paid, I blame the contractors. So you pay them for 1 month. What happened then for the month of August? You pay them for July, right? What's going on in August? You're still paying them? And then she says, well, the PNM saying that they're suffering and people suffering and they do. But for 2 years, so you were saying that every time the media put a camera in your face or a microphone by your mouth, everybody's suffering. That's how she started. Everybody's suffering. It's the same money they were making. So you were saying just before the election they were suffering, so they're not suffering again? You take away their job. It's the same salary that they're getting for the month of July, and the PNM talking about this suffering and people suffering, but they're still getting paid. But if you saying before they were getting paid and you kept saying they were suffering, so things change. They now lost their jobs and they're not suffering? Really? When they had to go home and study, well, I know what's going to happen in August. So I had to see how this little pay that I get in July, how that stretches to buy food and buy books. So I have 4 picnic. Let me see which one who are buying books for. Wonder where I could get a little help from. But I'll call the godfather and the godmother. But the godfather and godmother working CPEP too. So all are in the same boat. Nobody can help each other. Right? You go down by the MP. See what the MP could do. Right? You see? Falls back on us. So they want to cost Paris and say, well, all kind of thing, but Paris did this and that and the other and the next. But at the end of the day, if instructions were given to extend the contracts, it was to prevent the very same thing that happened. To ensure that these people still had a job after the election of the PNM lost. That is why that would have been done. If the UNC wasn't so vindictive and nasty, there would have been no need to extend. But they know, because the contracts were supposed to expire next year. So the PNM was well aware of the fact that had that not been done, Then when the contracts expire next year, what do you think the UNC would do? Not renew someone and give it to the same supporters, but they keep shifting the goalposts. First, we heard is because it had corruption in the program. Then the Prime Minister come to talk about, the program needs to be restructured because it's only a set of grass cutters. Then you have Khadija Amin coming to complain that CPEP and URP made the Borough Corporation workers lazy. Right? Because CPEP and URP were doing all the work that the Borough Corporation workers supposed to be doing. And therefore, that is justification to either get rid of these programs or downsize. But you all heard me talk about it. And you know what? Khadija Amin was a career local government person. She was a councillor for one time. She understood how the system works. She was the chairman of the Tunapuna Piako Regional Corporation between 2010 to 2015. So if anybody has an intimate understanding and awareness of how those programs ran, it's Khadija Amin. So for her to come and pretend now, so between 2010 to 2015, CPEP was there, URP was there. You didn't know that they were making Borough Corporation workers lazy. You didn't know that? All of a sudden, her eyes, the scales have been removed from her eyes, and she suddenly come to the realization that these programs were making Borough Corporation workers lazy. But I told you all in 2013, when I campaigned local government election, everywhere you go, people telling you, I want to work in the borough. Yeah, that's why I work in the borough. I want corporation work. And I'm trying to figure out what is so appealing about this Borough Corporation work that everybody wanted. Well, I don't understand. We need to find out what is the hours they come for 7 and by 8:30 they don't work and then they collect the pay at the end of the fortnight or the week or the month or whatever it is. They're getting paid for doing precious little because why? According to her, CPEP and URP was doing the work that they're supposed to be doing. Now, I have seen Borough Corporation do work that I know CPEP and URP not doing, right? In my own constituency. But she suddenly came to that realization. So it's like they keep shifting the goalposts because they realize the story or the explanation that they're given not holding water. And they own people upset with them. No matter what they come with. Because some of your own people suffering. Some of your same supporters who were happy when we, the PNM candidates, were campaigning. They're quick to run inside and pull out the big UNC flag and come waving it. Yellow is the code. When UNC win, everybody win, and they put on the jersey and they're happy to do that. Yeah, you know, PNM go for me. Rowley mother, so and so. We only want anti-Kamla. Yellow is still the code. Huh? You win? You know anybody who win? I can tell you who win. No win? Tim Gopi Singh. I see that he was appointed chairman of the NCRHA. Is the NCRHA or was it the NWRHA? One of the two. I think it was NWRHA. Yeah. 70-something-year-old Tim Gopi Singh. 70-something-year-old Tim Gopi Singh. Kamala wouldn't give the political cemetery a rest. She wouldn't give it a rest before the election, after the election. She went, as I told you, to the nether regions of the political cemetery to resurrect John Jeremy. Right? That section only have fossils. Not cadavers, not skeletons, only fossils. Them they long time. Predating the dinosaurs. So she went in the back there and pulled out Jeremy and Swaratsi. And then she come now, going back in the cemetery to pull out Larry Hawaii, to put him central bank governor to make $175,000 a month. But the PNM making the rich richer, right? After they gave Hawaii millions of dollars, 2011, to become the Minister of Finance. $11.625 million. He was Minister of Finance, making money, getting paid, enjoying the perks, and you're bringing back. And now you're going back in the cemetery again to pull out Tim Gopi Singh. Again. Who else it have? Are you finished yet? Or you plan to make another pass? Tell Suraj Bachchan hold straight. Hold straight. Your turn coming. She'll reach your section of the cemetery soon enough and perform a seance and resurrect you too. Eh? Suraj, come forth. You hold straight. Plenty of rest all. I see somebody saying on her post, I'm going to take the cremate Pandey because she might have resurrect you too. Shame. And then the same supporters, when the PNM was putting certain people in places, they had them. So what to the young people? All the old people, all the young people. There are no young people. in the end. So I don't know any young people to put. I don't know young people. Go piecing. I mean, come on. Really? Let these fellas make enough money in their life and their private profession, in public life, they make enough money. Oh gosh, allow somebody else to now. It's the same people they will keep resurrecting, and then now the supporters talking about, yeah, he's a good man for the job, he has the experience and so on. So there are no young people with experience. How you expect them to get the experience when they keep digging up, going to the political cemetery and bringing back these fossils to put them in position? Seriously? Half of them that this big cabinet, the biggest cabinet in the country's history, again for the second time. Half of them. What purpose they serving? None. But drawing big pay at the end of the month. And meanwhile, CPEP and URP and forestry workers don't know where the next meal coming from. Again, we're talking. Right? So last week, Monday, we went to the Parliament to sign the condolence book for the late Senator Duru Timal. Right? So when we get there, so, because Senator Timal's passing was sudden last week Sunday. So we'd have gotten the message Monday morning from the Chief Whip. We are meeting at the Red House to sign the condolence book. So those of you who are able to attend, we're meeting for 1 o'clock. So we get there at 1 o'clock. There's Patsy are still saying Glenn Ramadas will be taken back soon. That's correct. A few others are there. I mean, where's Sadiq Bash? You still around? Trevor Sudama, where he? You still around? Don't worry. Malin Kudre, don't worry all yourself. I'll get a call soon enough. There's still plenty boards for them to fill, and I ain't see they start to appoint ambassadors and stuff yet. So don't worry. Just relax. Pack all your bags and get ready. The call coming soon. Yeah. So I was making the point. So when we get there, well, the opposition leader, the Chief Whip, Marvin Gonzalez, and a couple other persons were there when I got there. So I got there about 5 to 1 as I'm walking into the precincts of the Parliament. So I see Philip Alexander is coming out, and he went earlier to sign the condolence book. So as he comes out now from by the rotunda, and he comes upstairs heading out to his car. So the media decided they want to take some photos with him and the opposition leader. Right? So pull them aside to take the photos and stuff. But from the time I reach and I see this man, I upset. I wanted to turn around and head back. Right? Because I wouldn't say I have a strong dislike for the individual. His whole aura just it leaves me very unsettled. And even this is part of the reasons why some of the things that I've been invited to, I stay away from, because I know the individual will be there. He don't know how to turn down an invitation. Everything he get invited to, because I know it's like never see, come see. I reach all these things. I heard he referred to the U.S. Embassy had their 4th of July celebration. I think it was sometime on the 18th of July or something like that at the Hyatt. And he referred to it, he put out a post in which he said it was perhaps the most high profile, some stupidness, something to that effect. It's like groupie never see come see it. You don't miss nothing. You there. So takes a picture with Penny. And as he's leaving, I walking in. To be honest, I've been honest with you, right? I do not have any sort of relationship with a lot of these government folks. Maybe it's still early days yet. We've not really had opportunity to have too much interaction with those in the Senate, with those in the lower house. When we have sittings, usually when we go on a break, they do their thing, we do our thing. There's not much interaction, right? Maybe as the 5 years wears on, that will probably change. So takes his picture, he's leaving. I just go and do my thing. I go and meet my colleagues. Don't expect me to greet and not, because I know I'm no hypocrite. Me playing that. You'll have heard me speak about this individual before. I've described him as the counterfeit 1%er. He's very disrespectful. So I'm not going to pretend. So after he leaves, so talking to Penny, so Penny said, I asked him, how are things? And he says, I feel greatly underutilized. Those are his words. I feel greatly underutilized. So it tells me he is really serving no purpose in the Ministry of Housing. But the goodly Prime Minister saw it fit to put him there, along with Anil Roberts, David Lee. So you have 3 ministers in the Ministry of Housing. And he feels greatly underutilized. So when he goes to work every day, basically he has nothing to do. So he just hoping that probably he'd have a site visit somewhere. He could say, all right, I'll go. Or hoping that David Lee have a meeting with somebody so he could go and sit down in David Lee's office and pretend, for the cameras, look, we actually doing work. Because there's really nothing for them to do. The ministries are basically run by the permanent secretary and the staff. The ministers are really there for policy, to guide. So, Prasad Bisasa having 3 ministers in that ministry makes no sense. But the members of the media wouldn't ask her. So, Madam Prime Minister, what is the purpose of having 3 ministers there? What do they do exactly on a daily basis? Other than the substantive minister, David Lee, what do the other 2 do? Because we see in Philip Alexander everywhere. So clearly he had no work to do, because if he have time to go funeral and to go and pose in front of helicopter with the ship that is there, the US ship, the medical ship that is there, I think they have some helicopter, so he posts up a picture, he poses up outside. So if he have time to do these things during the day when he should be in his office doing work, he had no work to do. But he's greatly underutilized. And you, Mr. and Ms. Taxpayer, are talking more so to the UNC supporters who had an issue with Stuart Young and his pension. Some PNM people too, who I know had an issue with it. That's part of the reason why somebody didn't vote for the PNM. Right? He's greatly underutilized. So if he's greatly underutilized, chances are Anil Roberts is also greatly underutilized too. And as well as their colleagues in other ministries who are just placed there as fillers, job for the boys, create the largest cabinet, unnecessary, because the last administration and administrations before would have shown you there is no need to have a cabinet of 30-something, a government of 30-something people. We have a set of ministers in the Ministry of Parliamentary, Secretary, ministers serving in 2 and 3 different ministries and all this kind of thing, right? Well, let me give you an example of, or just highlight for you what you, Mr. and Ms. Taxpayer, pay into this man every month who feels greatly underutilized. So as a senator, his salary for the month as a senator, so he gets 2 salaries. He's paid as a senator and he's paid as a minister in the Ministerial. So he's a non-cabinet minister. So he receives as a senator $17,020 a month. He receives a traveling allowance of $4,560 a month as a senator, right? Because he sits in the Senate. He didn't win a seat. She brought him to the Senate because that's the only way she could make him a minister. Then, as a minister in the Ministerial, he's a non-cabinet minister. So he earns a salary of $43,155 per month, plus a travel allowance of $6,660. So he is receiving, I want you to do the math. See all the money that this man is receiving, right? Close to $70,000 a month to be greatly underutilized. Add the same thing for Anil Roberts. That's $140,000 a month that you, Mr. and Ms. Taxpayer, paying just in one ministry alone for 2 people to be underutilized. And Roberts had to be underutilized too, because if he has time to be doing lives to cost the PNM in his office, in the ministry, clearly you don't have work to do. Because you can't have work to do and you have time to be doing live and you're shameless. You don't care that people see that you're doing live in the public space. If you want to do that in your kitchen, no problem with your doubles and coffee. But you can't be making live and costing the PNM, for which 220,000 citizens voted for, and the others who support the PNM as well who didn't vote for whatever reason, for you to be sitting down in an office that their taxpayers' money paying for to cost them. So if you have your personal browsers with the PNM, whatever, it is fine. Do it in the privacy of your home. But he can't fault you for that, but not on the premises that belonging to the state that our taxpayers' dollars paying for. Right? So he is feeling greatly underutilized. So I have nothing for him to do. Just twiddle his thumbs all day and just looking for opportunity. Wait, have anything, any field trip, anything I could go to? But I'm feeling bored. I had played Sudoku and Candy Crush. What have for me to do? $140,000 a month, just 2 of them alone. Count all the other ministries, like Ministry of Social Development, where you have Chaitan and all these other ministries, the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of whatever and whatever. Just fillers. You could have made them senators, and them just come and sit down in the Senate ever so often and they talk and whatever. You didn't need to make them ministers as well to serve no useful purpose, which they don't. So you could have paid them one salary and give them the title of senator and declare them feel good. They would have still get invited to certain things and okay. But no, we had to take it a step further and make them minister and parliamentary secretary, earning monies for doing nothing. And the money that he making, $70,000 a month, to feel greatly underutilized. You know how much CPEP workers you could have paid with that? How many CPEP workers? How many URP workers you could have paid with that? How many forestry workers? So whenever it says, I see this man popping up all over the place, and I say, this man don't have a job. Never work. Come on now, man. So you just publish free mouth. You know, I one thing, and then you say that he do so and so to get the party into power and we treat him badly, but you shouldn't care. Because look, where's your auntie today? Where's your auntie Luch Media? All the setup performance your auntie put on in the Senate for the last how much years, hoping to be noticed, hoping that she would have been given the opportunity to represent the UNC in the lower house. Pay she $2,000 to screen for Naparima, pay her $2,000 to screen for San Fernando West and get blank. Where is she today? Not even a senator. You bring a set of people that nobody knows, nobody ever hear about. And poor Gianti who slaved in the Senate. Poor Gianti who went and petitioned the court, along with Ram Logan and the rest of them, to make murder a non-bailable offense so that people who couldn't get bail before for committing murder could now get bail. All them things Gianti do. And nothing, not even my little state board, nothing. It's like Gianti just disappear into the wilderness. Where's she gone? Where? But all had a problem with Stuarty getting $87,000 a month. Stuarty who has a constituency to run. Stuarty who have people coming by him every week looking for help, just like they come in by me and come in by Penny and come in by Marvin and Christian and Hans and Kareem. All the others. Yeah, they dip in his pocket. Alexander represent nobody. He didn't win his seat. So all that money is what he. And well, I see now his son come back on the scene. The son who they say this one, them who signed the report to change his name, and okay, he didn't want to carry his last name. And so all of a sudden he come back, he's proud of daddy because daddy is a government minister. Yes. If you see him for the emancipation, listen. When I tell all that, I just wanted to jump in my car and go back home. And I see these people stunting. Never come to emancipation procession before. Never cared to before, because see, that is not for all. That's beneath you all. Yeah, all of them who play in African and want to dress up in African clothes once a year and come and walk from Independence Square to the Savannah. I'm not interested in that. Ever went? You ever look at it? You wasn't interested. But all of a sudden now, because you're minister, you suddenly realize that there is an African race. There's a race other than yours and the East Indian race in Trinidad and Tobago. The same race that you had nothing to say good about before. Right? When you made your misrepresentation and claimed you had over 30,000 persons of African descent in the nation's prisons. I did a simple Google search to see that the total prison population in Trinidad and Tobago is less than 6,000. Too damn lazy to even do a proper search before you post rubbish on social media to be called out on your lies. Didn't care. When you talk about African people only serving two purposes in this country, which is as laborers and consumers. But when it comes to business ownership, African people don't know nothing about that. We can't run business. We don't know nothing about business. Yeah? Leave that for everybody else, but not us. So you see. Right? And then you come now talking about when the last administration would have signed the agreement with, Nigeria, to facilitate direct flights between Trinidad and Tobago and Nigeria. And nobody don't want to go Nigeria, and not even Nigerians want to go Nigeria, and all kind of stupid talk. People want to go to England and Canada and the USA, but nobody wants to go to Nigeria. And so, a total disrespect to the African continent. Oh, but on Emancipation Day, you're going to the opening of the Emancipation Village. You have an African suit to wear. You come in your colonizer suit and tie, and most prominent on stage next to the minister. In shade, you were right in the Emancipation Village. They had things selling whole day. You could have reached early and run and try to mama guy people a little bit now. Go and buy something. You could have buy a shirt. Had plenty to choose from. You get paid for 2 months. You have money. Go and buy one. Fool people know, but you come on stage in your colonizer suit taking picture, right? And after that, all of a sudden, you're like, you're going to have a few of these events I need to attend, so let me try and fool them. Let me go and walk through the village and see if I can pick up 2 or 3 outfits. Right? Yeah. To fool you ain't fooling me. And then come on the day and you walk in. Yes, look, I'm happy to take pictures. Hey, Philip, I could get a picture. Come now, you're happy. Some of these shameless Africans pretending all they don't know the things that this man has said, disrespected the late Patrick Manning, and he died. Talking about who's supposed to burn in hell and all kind of thing, disrespected Lisa Morris Julian when she passed on. Right? Disrespected Camille Robinson Regis in her time of grief. You don't know the close relationship that they had, but you're so disrespectful. Right? But you have some of these shameless Africans when, Philip, I could get a picture. Like, yeah, I could. Sickening. I just walk in, I want to vomit. I was looking at these people. So some people told me, but I see you in the videos, and I see you, and you wasn't looking like you were too happy to be there. I wasn't. Because every time I got there and I see the hypocrisy of people like Michelle Benjamin. You ever went to one of these processions? For all the time that you were a member of Parliament, you never saw it fit to go? No. You didn't have to make to be there no big way. Okay, the PNM was in office and right. You put on your Boston, you're just big Baptist or whatever it is, you put on your African way and come lose yourself in the crowd. You don't need to show you look at reach. But for the purpose of what it is. But no. All of a sudden now we're in government and your eyes open and you realize, but wait now, I'm an African. How come I never come to this before? And you're there. Up on stage. Minister. See all of them. Oh, happy to sit down there. I have nothing to say. Yeah, but they just want to be there for the glam, for the camera, you know? Everybody want to take pictures with all you. I want to take a picture with the minister. I want to take a picture with Philip. I didn't even want to be in the background on no picture with this man. That's to tell you. I was so upset. And I told that to my colleagues. Just seeing these people stunting and pretending. All these people who phone in after all, they're ridiculous. And they're going up in the savannah. Yeah. These people is the worst, you know. Going up in the savannah. Right? So after they done, and they're heading up the road now, every time they stop by Piccadilly Greens. And they had a little tent there, whatever it is, for Michelle Benjamin to get some speech or something immediate, to take some photos, do a little quick interview and the like. Mr. Man and his son up in front, so they walk off. When they realize Michelle Benjamin stopped to take pictures, if you see him hightail it back, yeah, I can't miss the photo opportunity. Yeah, if you see him rushing through and pushing people aside so he can get to reach back to pose with Michelle to take pictures. Yeah, look, Minister. I just there shaking my head. Why doing it? I don't want to be witnessing this hypocrisy. That's what I had to put up with. Right? If you see them, hightail it up to the savannah, man. They reach, right. Hard time go home, change the clothes, put on another African outfit to Mamagai African people, and come back to the savannah for the festivities when the Prime Minister reach 4 o'clock. And all of them upstairs in the VIP lounge, and all the activists who was running them out for them on social media during the election campaign. If you see them, look, man, don't forget, look, man, come upstairs now, come. And while all the plebs sit downstairs, their throat dry, can't even get a bottle of water. They upstairs in the VIP lounge drinking the best of alcohol. Yeah? According to Anel, eating shrimps. Not shrimp, shrimps and scotch. You see them? Happy? Yes. Let me take a picture. At your expense. You, the taxpayer. That's where your money went. The poor CPEP workers and them would have probably come and clean up the savannah afterwards. Right? They home scratching their head where the next meal coming from how they buying books. And meanwhile, money spent for the best liquor and the best alcohol for them to like themselves upstairs in the VIP lounge. Yeah, I'm going to take a picture with the Prime Minister. Hypocrites. Right? Absolute hypocrisy. But they care. Yeah, the PNM only care about the 1%, and the PNM like black people, and the PNM like poor people. Who they putting in position? Who they put in? Let me give you another piece of hypocrisy. Let me get this here. Get it here. Where is it? Plenty of that going around these days. So they ask people to rate the first 100 days in office. Let me read this here. Where is it? Of course, the supporters will say, yeah, everything going great, man, fantastic. They do more in 3 months than the PNM did in 60 years. Yeah, in terms of destroying the economy, yeah, in terms of destroying the country, absolutely. In terms of most amount of people fired, of course, they did more than the PNM did in 60 years when it comes to firing people in the first 3 months. But you're going to talk that. Only quoting a set of things that the PNM started and trying to give them credit for it. So this article, CNC3, The Guardian, the first 100 days, praise and pushback as analysts assess government's record. Political scientist Dr. Bishnu Raghunath told Guardian Media that the UNC government did not outline a 100-day plan, making it hard to assess their early performance against specific goals. And when the second incarnation, 2010 to 2015, they had a 100-day plan. Yeah, crime was supposed to be a thing of the past in 100 days. Flooding was supposed to be a thing of the past in 100 days. They learned the lesson. They didn't do that this time. But while major issues like crime and foreign exchange remain unresolved, Raghunath said the government has maintained strong public engagement through consultations and forums. I mean, I see they're dealing with the stand your ground legislation and consultations and so on. In a way, they are coming back to the citizenry and asking the citizenry for your opinion as to how we move forward, which is probably a good thing in a way. And it shows that they are willing to still have that connection between the government and the people, Raghunath said. He said this is in sharp contrast to the previous government, which had a top-down approach to governance. Raghunath said, though, here they say, he is also awaiting meaningful government action on the 10% wage increase for public servants. And while Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar assured the promise will be kept, no specific timeline was given, and Raghunath suggested the issue be addressed during this year's budget. Hear him. I think it is critical for the government to probably come up with some strategy in the budget to give public servants some degree of an increase, or at least set aside funds to some degree of an increase in salary, so they can't complain that they are still working under 2014 or 2013 salaries. Bishnu Raghunath, you for real? Let me read that again. I think it is critical for the government to probably come up with some strategy in the budget to give public servants some degree of an increase. Some degree, not 10, but some degree. Or at least set aside funds to some degree of an increase in salary so that they can't complain that they're still working under 2014 or 2013 salaries. So I want to tell Bishnu, there are plenty public servants who are not complaining that they're working on 2013 or 2014 salaries. Because you know why? The last administration gave them some degree of an increase, Bishnu. Remember the 4%? And then remember the 5%, Bishnu? That's what we're talking about, some degree. That's a degree. 4% is a degree, Bishnu. 5% is a degree too. Is that what you're advocating now? Because when the last administration said they couldn't afford to pay all of those people, and 4 and 5 is what they could have afforded, where were you, Bishnu? Where were you to defend that administration to say, well, yes, the economics, this is what it will allow. So 4 wasn't good then. 5 wasn't good then. But now, you come to the realization that that 10%, that's a tall order, you know. Hey, we'll get them something now, some degree, something to hold. So they can't say that they're still working on 2013 and 2014 salaries. So whose benefit is that for? The workers or the government? Because that was the same song that the public servants were singing for the last how many years under the PNM. They're still working on 2013, 2014 salaries, so we don't want this administration to be saddled with that. So get them something. So they could say, well, they get an increase for a period. So we're working on 2017 salaries or 2020 salaries. That's what you're advocating. The 4% looking good now. The 5% looking good now. Same thing we tell all in 86 now. When Chambers offer 6%, now we don't want that. Keep your 6%, put out where the monkey put the nuts. When you went for the NAR, vote out the PNM. Put me on a motorcycle, a bike. Yes, tricycle. 3 people. 3 people. You get the NAR 33. What you get for that 33? 10% cut. Cost of living allowance going through. Among other things, how many people lost their homes, had to turn in their keys because they could no longer pay their mortgage? who take out loan for car and had to hand back the car and all of these different things. I hear people tell me these stories. I was but a wee child at the time, so I wouldn't, but I have a vague memory of it, right? Vague memory of it. So I benefited from persons who were public servants at the time who told me what they went through. And we've heard many stories about it. But Mr. Raghunath is now saying the government should set aside funds. At least get them a little something now. You can't get them 10, I'd get them something now. 4, 5. You ain't call it 4 and 5. I get them something. The last administration was saying we could give all something, we can't get 10. You could get half of that. And remember, we gave you 3 increases in your personal allowance. So when you add up what that increase in your personal allowance comes to, plus the 5 and the 4 that we offer, it really works out to more than 4 and more than 5. They're not even offering you an increase in your personal allowance. Nothing. Salt. No discussions have started. No negotiations have started. We're almost in the middle of August. The budget is due by the end of September, early October. And these negotiations, we know, are protracted. So unless the government has the money hidden somewhere, where they can just pay the 10%, such that these negotiations need not be dragged out. And remember, we starting at 10, eh? That at 10 is the figure. We starting at 10. So we starting at 10 and we're negotiating. So we could go to 12, we could go to 14 like I did last time, go to 20. Because remember, Roger at one time, he said, 14 is not enough. 15 is not enough. 20 is not enough. 21 is not enough. 22, not enough. 23, 24 is not enough. 25, all right, we can start to negotiate from there. Anything less than 25, forget that. That's what Roger said. Where is he today? Mr. Roger, come forward. Where are you? You seem to have gone silent. 10% is enough now? It wasn't, you say it wasn't enough under the PNM. But it's enough now, right? Mr. Roger? You're willing to accept 10 now, but you under the PNM, you wasn't taking nothing less than 25? Mr. Roger, what has changed? You didn't get the refinery, so you're vexed. That's what changed. What you get? You come and align yourself with this same government where a man stand up in the parliament and claim to have a picture with you and another guy negotiating, making arrangements to purchase the refinery. And he claimed that this picture was taken in an office, in a house in Penal, belonging to the owner of A&B, AB Drilling. Only fake oil. Yeah, the man said that. You want to know if this picture was taken in an office in a house. That's his information. What did Roger do? Call the media the next day and he said, come, I'm show you where this office is. You see? Look the picture here. You see the couch? Look the couch there. Look the cabinet there. Look the desk here. This is the office. You know this office is? This is in the OWTU headquarters. And Mr. Munilal knows that very well. That's what Roger said, because he's been in this office before. Just as the AB Drilling man said, but the member for Oropuch has been to my home before and he knows the circumstances under which he came to my home. AB Drilling man said that. Never forget that. But he had a problem being in league with them now. So under the PNM, anything less than 25% is unacceptable, but to the UNC, we got to take 10. Was Mr. Raghunath is now advocating, get them something now. Well, you hold that now, hold that. Because he realized apparently the repeal of the TTRA wasn't enough of a consolation prize. Because they can't take that to the grocery. Can't pay bills with that. They can't buy school books with the repeal of the TTRA. They bring a whole section of the PSA to sit down in the public gallery. Poor people. Right? From morning till night, they sit down there. You see them. They ain't even offer the people a glass of water to drink. When we go on break and go on and sit down in the members' lounge, all kind of nice food to eat. You see thing. You see the spread. Nice food, dessert, cake, ice cream, you name it. Yeah. Just get anything. Nice food. And these poor folks and them sit down outside. And let's see if they can run and find the nearest doubles vendor or something, or who walk with a little sandwich in the bag to eat. Whole day these poor people sit down there. Right? Just to listen to debate. Some of them sleeping and they see them bepping on themselves. How long again this thing going for, boy? I have to look at all the theatrics and the antics in the parliament. And finally pass, and how did it benefit them? It didn't. Where is Felicia? Anybody heard from her recently? I saw she sent a letter threatening a lawsuit to WASA because apparently the new CEO, the acting CEO, sent out some communique or something with respect to promotions and so on that all promotions and the like has to pass through him, be approved by him. And she sent him a letter stating that that is not in alignment with what the collective agreement or whatever it is that they have, that is not how it's supposed to work. And so he called after a meeting for them to have a discussion and see how they could iron out a way forward. But once that's sorted out, she goes back to hibernation. You know, just like the mother union leaders and them Roger and who not. And is that the other day you had an issue with the ethnic complexion of the boards. Right? You make a hullabaloo and a fuss, and then what? You're going back in hibernation. Because they tell you, well, don't worry yourself now, man, because sort that out. There are plenty more boards to a point. Relax. It's obvious, it is evident, but you remember we had to take care of our people first. Relax yourself now. You buy that wholesale, all right, sorry, right? I didn't mean it. And you're going back in your hole. Yeah, and what they do? They continue to do the same thing. Same thing. Every now and then they put a little token person of African descent to fool people. You know? Yeah. And they buy that. And they run with that. There are no people that take chin up. Easy. But it's the hypocrites like Raghunath and them who are supposed to be political analysts. Political analysts. What you analyzing? You didn't know to analyze when the last administration said they couldn't afford 10, but you come in now to say give them some degree or something put aside. That's how it works. That's not how it works. And give them something. I put aside how much money you can afford. The same 4% that them, but well, we have where in better identify where the money was going to come from to pay that for. Well, all right, let me pull that aside and give them the 4 now and tell them they'll get the next 6. Yeah, just train them up a little bit now. Let them rush and take the 4. That's how it's supposed to work, right? Meanwhile, back at the ranch, all of them liking themselves with their salaries. So I just told you all about Mr. Alexander, who feels greatly underutilized, earning $70,000 a month. Most people will be happy to be underutilized and earn $70,000 a month. So I hear you talking now about he plans to set up an office, a constituency office in Port of Spain, North St. Anne's West. And he plans to serve as the shadow MP. So if people looking for help, don't go by your MP, Stuart Young, come to him. And he'll help you. Yeah, work. Well, if I say you need a grant for how do you come by Philip? Philip will fix it. Apparently, Philip doesn't understand how the system works. You ran for the seat, you lost. Stuart Young won. Stuart Young is the duly elected member of Parliament for Port of Spain, North St. Anne's West. If persons have issues and they need assistance, they are supposed to go to Stuart Young. If it is that Stuart Young, people are going to Stuart Young and he is writing to the respective ministers seeking assistance for his constituents and he's being denied, but you, who don't have that authority, decide that you want to go and set up an office and you want to make yourself shadow MP and people coming to you, and because you are a member of government, that you could pick up the phone and call this minister and that minister and get things done. And Stuart Young doesn't have that facility and that wherewithal. That should be tantamount to misbehavior in public office. And any minister of government who facilitating that nonsense should also face a charge of misbehavior in public office. There is a procedure. Stuart Young gets paid to represent his constituency. Philip Alexander is not the member of parliament. He sits in the Senate at the behest of Kamala Persad-Bissessar. All right? So he can't come and set up no office and say that you people directing people to come to your office for help because you have a direct line to ministers and you could make a call at this very same time and the ministers giving you assistance, that when the same assistance that they should be providing to Stuart Young, when he writes to them and sends them an email or an official letter requesting assistance for his constituents, but because people come to Stuart, he sent a letter, you're not getting no help. People frustrated, and then they go on by Philip because they hear when you go by Philip, you get through. Why? Because Philip could talk to this one and talk to that one. He could do what Stuart can't. Any minister who facilitates that, as far as I am concerned, that is misbehavior. Right? Because you cannot be denying the duly elected MP the assistance that he requires to do his job for which Parliament pays him, and you're helping out somebody else. But it hasn't happened yet. He said he's going to open the office, and he is talking about people come to him, and he will. So let's see. Let's wait and see how that is going to play off. Rest assured, he will get no rest. No rest. Let him go ahead and play himself. You want to play big Tom too. You lost. Relax yourself. Try again in 2030. Every time you went up against Dr. Rowley, you went up against Coleman Butch, you're going up against your time, you get lost, you get licks every time. Relax yourself. Shucks, man. But I feel you need to do something. So you have no work to do in the Ministry of Housing. So you're going to set up a constituency office to come because you have time on your hand to deal with constituents. What the hell are we paying you for? What are we paying you for? What are we paying Annie Roberts for? For cost we paying them all day? He was doing that for free before the election. So why should he be paid to do that now? Nothing of substance. None of them could come. All the big talk Alexander had before, he had the solutions and the answers to every problem the country facing. All. Put him in office. Put PEP in office and you will see. Country will transform. You'll fix this and you will fix that. Well, you've been there, what, for at least 2 months now? 2.5, we're now 3 months now? Where fix? All these brilliant ideas that you had the solution to everything. Why don't you take it to the Prime Minister? Why don't you take it to the line ministers? Request a meeting with each and every one of them, their colleagues, and tell them, listen, I have the solution to every problem in your ministry. I'll come in and talk to you Monday. And I'll come with my dossier and I'll show you all the ideas and implement it and we'll fix that. Hey, I'll come in by you Wednesday. Yes, because I have all the answers to fix all the problems in your ministry. I'll come in. Come in and talk. So after about a month, thing good. No worries. At the end of this year, everything's supposed to be fixed. Trinidad and Tobago is supposed to be a veritable utopia because you have all the answers and all the solutions, but yet still you feel greatly underutilized. You're collecting over $70,000 a month, and come next month, you get even more money because when committees start, you also get money for being on a committee. For each committee that you're on, you get paid monthly. If you're a ordinary member, if you're a chairman, I think he's on a couple of committees, so he has even more money to get. At least when the committees start to do their work, he doesn't need to feel underutilized because the committees have work for him to do. Same cannot be said for the Ministry of Housing. Well, it cost the PNM. Well, it was vexed. Well, Rowley didn't want to give this one a position, and he gave that one a position, and that one and this one. Adrian Leonson get no position and Roger Monroe get no position because Dr. Rowley was not about just putting people in position for the sake of. All right? It wasn't just about that. Jobs for the boys. You don't have money to pay this and money to pay that, but you have money to pay a bloated cabinet. A set of unnecessary ministers. And as I said before, you wanted to get them something, meet them as Senator. Nicola Consari as a senator, they come to the Senate 2, 3, 4 times a month whenever it have sit-ins, right? But there was no need to put them in ministries to stunt and pretend like they're doing work, but just for photo ops. When the substantive minister have a meeting, you come and sit down and you pretend. Sickening. And then, of course, we have across the pond, this government could do no wrong in the eyes of Mr. Augustine, who says, government off to a strong start. Chief Secretary Fali Augustine says the new government has made a strong start in its first 100 days in office. Really, Fali? Well, your bar for a strong start must be pretty low. Pretty low. Speaking to the media, he praised Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar for being more confident and assertive this time around. I think we have a government that seems insistent on delivering what they have promised. There's the same man who was complaining the other day that the money they get in the media review is not enough, right? Same man, but they're off to a strong start. He says we have a sense of assertiveness from the Prime Minister that we did not get the first time around. Very confident in the steps that they are taking. Yeah, well, I'll agree with you there. She was very assertive in sending home thousands of workers and without care for how they eat and how they pay the bills. Yeah. Without care for what the general public has to say. Okay, that is assertive. Augustine also welcomed the government's early consultations with the public. I do like that they are engaging in consultations so early on. He hopes these talks will lead to real action. That is not consultation, Mr. Augustine. Right? Having cottage meetings with your supporters is not consultation. Have they come to Tobago? Did they have any consultations on the standing ground legislation in Tobago? No. All you have is UNC MPs doing that. That is not a consultation. That is not a national consultation that is required. because there are citizens who don't support the UNC who have views. And when it is that you have these cottage meetings that you're calling consultations, where basically you're looking for a sounding board that is partisan to you. So they will tell you what you want to hear. And you will come and say, well, yes, we had 40 consultations, or how much consultations, and the general consensus was that the population wants the legislation. Really? Half of them don't even know what the legislation is about. Most of them are relying on the rhetoric that they would have heard during the election campaign, and they figure they know. Some of them going and they Googling the US legislation. I hear some people talking and about what the legislation is and what like really is. No, that is not correct. Where you get that from? The fact is the majority of citizens believe that this legislation is a get out of jail free card for when the government brings the legislation to make it easier for them to get a gun, and they get a gun, and 2 o'clock in the morning they get up and they hear a noise, and the first reaction is to draw for the piece and start to load up the matic, right? Pull it back, knock it on them. Yeah. You just pell shots because you see a silhouette downstairs and hey, someone, who is that? And you pell 2 shots and you're like, man. When you go downstairs and you realize it's because your daughter sneaking her boyfriend and he now trying to sneak out, right? You know, he came when all is sleeping, he decided to come out, she bring him inside, and now time for you to make a hasty retreat. And you go downstairs and you want to turn on the light, trip over something, you hear a noise, you run outside, you bust 2 bullets, and now you just kill your son-in-law. And she go, oh God. What are you gonna do? Call Johnny Abraham. And he say, do what you have to do, and we go tell all you what to tell the police. Yeah. Make sure you have him on speed dial. We'll tell you what to tell the police. Well, your thought was an intruder. Oh, your thought was an intruder, so you didn't sound on fire, warning shot, or nothing, or whatever it is. You just see as a shadow, and you just open bullets. You say how the person get inside your house when you know you properly well lock up your house. Okay. All right. Let's tell your children don't get up in the middle of the night to go and drink water. All right, make sure they go and drink water or looking for something to eat in the middle of the night. Turn on the light. Right? Turn on the light. Don't leave it off. Because daddy might end up pumping you full of lead. Okay, don't bring nobody in the house after hours when your parents sleeping. Okay? Right? Or make sure you learn the whole room so you know to navigate in the darkness. Don't come home late. You're going to a party. And yeah, because they have conditioned the minds of many of these citizens. If you hear a noise 2 o'clock in the morning and you're in your bed, the first thing to think about is somebody breaking your house to harm you and your family. Load up the matic and look to bust bullet. And when the dust clear, you're going to see who you kill afterwards. But when you can have a Minister of Justice telling you nonsense, not Justice, sorry, Minister of Defense telling you nonsense about it's better to be tried by 12 than to be carried by 6. All this is a cliche and they figure that's sounding good. It's better to be tried by 12 than to be carried by 6. Really? Okay. But when you buy into that and you end up being tried by 6 and you end up inside for 60, you'll wish you had been carried by 6. Go ahead with that. Right? And you could shoot a man in the back even if there's the person running away, you could still shoot them. What kind of rubbish is that? What is your justification for that? Frustration. I'm fed up at them. Only frustrating. Only distressing people. I'm fed up. So you decide you want to be a vigilante and you're going to take he out. You're the last person that he's going to distress. Okay? You kill him. And then you catch a case because you listen to the Minister of Defense. Well, he will defend you. Maybe that's why he was put as Minister of Defense. He's good at defense. Yeah, so he could defend you in court. Look out for that. But I'm waiting for this stand your ground legislation to come. Yeah. All of a sudden now they're backtracking. This legislation is not a get out of jail free card. This legislation is not a license to kill. But that is the impression you all were giving the population over the last 2 years. With your rhetoric about load up the matic, empty the clip, reload and empty it again. So what the hell is that? That was you telling people kill. And now come and talk about it's not a license to kill? Because you realize from your consultations that is what people have in their minds. That this law is intended to protect them. If somebody come into their property and they decide out of frustration, anger, whatever it is, they had a bad day, they just get a horn, whatever it is happen, and in a fit of rage, they pull their gun and just fire some shots without thinking. Somebody dead. Or you just spell bullet, stray bullet, the next door neighbor child pick up, dead. And the dust is cleared. And then what? Then what? How many times is the Prime Minister prepared to offer apologies? How many times is the Minister of Homeland Security prepared to offer apologies and condolences? But you see, when you come with this kind of thing, because you realize, yeah, that resonating with people and you'll get votes. Now you can't backtrack. Trying to, but you can't. Brenda Smart is saying the standing ground legislation is madness and should be forcibly rejected by the opposition. Well, I intend to object. I don't support it. I do not support it. Right? Because the majority of persons who are not attending these consultations, the only information they get in about what is said at these consultations is the little soundbites that the media thinks appropriate to share. You know, the sensational things. So when Sturge make a statement that is sensational, they'll talk about that. But most people are not looking at these consultations, even if it is being carried on YouTube or whatever, on the UNC YouTube page. People who don't support the UNC not going to tune into that. That is why the manner and in which this is being done is wholly incorrect. Wholly incorrect. These are not national consultations. But they're going to come and claim that people said this and people said that. In my own constituency, and these are points that I intend to raise, I have a number of senior citizens in my constituency. One man telling me the other day, he said, this stand your ground legislation. He said, I could hardly even stand up. Tell me about stand my ground. You see, each time if they kick down my door, each time it would take me to give me a stick to get up. They had chance to ransack the whole house and take where they want and go. He said, I can't buy no gun. With my little pension, I can't afford to buy no gun. So how that helping me? It doesn't. It doesn't. You all made a promise. You all tell the people you all had the solution to crime. The people didn't elect you all to come and give to arm them for them to do the work of the police. They elected you all so that to bring an end to the home invasions. They elected you all to bring an end to the kidnappings and the murders. Because obviously under PNM, crime is worse under the PNM. PNM lacks the political will to deal with crime. And we have these solutions. Put us in office, or they put all in office. People prefer not to have to imagine 2 o'clock in the morning. That if they hear a noise 2 o'clock in the morning, they don't have to think the first thing somebody inside the house come to kill them or to distress them. That's why you all got elected. So that these things would no longer exist. Bring it to an end. Not to come and give me a gun because you can't fix it. So you basically tell me, we can't stop the human invasion. What we could give you a gun and put a law in place to allow you to be able to use the gun. So when they come. So prepare yourself. I saw a video clip on Florida News, one of the Florida news stations that I look at. Just recently, 14-year-old boy killed by a homeowner because he was participating in a TikTok challenge called Ding Dong Ditch. So you run up to people's homes, you ring the doorbell, or if they don't have a doorbell, you pound on the door and bust it before the homeowner has a chance to come to the door to see who it is ringing the doorbell or knocking on the door. And this particular gentleman, he was a victim of that 17 times. 17 times it happened to him, right? And on each occasion, he said, it startled his 4-year-old daughter. Child sleeping in the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, people come in and pounding down his door and so on, waking up. So he concerned and he got fed up. You know what he did? He waited with his gun. Waited. He said, enough is enough. And the 18th time, sure enough, somebody came. 14-year-old African boy, come, pound on the door, and he was waiting by the door. And as he come and he pound the door, open, run outside, and he grab him, beat him to a frazzle, and then shot him. When he pull out the gun, the boy beg and tell him he's sorry, he didn't mean to do it, he's sorry. He didn't care because in that fit of rage, 18 times all they do this to me, fed up, they distressed. So he ain't thinking at that time. Right now, he just running on adrenaline. I finally catch one earlier. And so the frustration that I felt for the last 17 times, you will not feel it. 14-year-old boy, they put some good licks on him, and that wasn't enough. Out of frustration, they draw a gun and they put 2 bullets in his backside. Today, he dead. And you facing a 2nd-degree murder charge. Right? Your family in distress permanently because more than likely you will make a jail. So, how are you supporting your family? That's the same thing. When people frustrated and they armed, these things will happen. You feel Trinidad is immune from these TikTok challenges, or these foolishness. Young people doing them thing, they bored, and looking like something fun, so let me try it. And they interviewed several homeowners who said, this thing is going to end in death because somebody is going to shoot somebody because of this. Somebody will end up killing somebody because of this. So said, so done. So today, families without a 14-year-old and a man sit down in jail, awaiting trial because of some stupid TikTok nonsense. And because in a fit of rage, he took somebody's life. And Trinidad, we know the mentality of these people. We know the mentality of citizens of this country. You know, you're frustrated, you're fed up. Pull the gun. Just to threaten. Shoot man, shoot man. If you like right there, shoot man. Right? And you know, stand your ground legislation, say, well, all I had to do is to say, I felt threatened. There is no obligation to retreat, even though there is no threat. There's no obligation to retreat. So let me go them. You shoot me. You feel like afraid, I feel afraid, and you're going to shoot me. And you go them now. All you have to do is to pelt a cuff. And you bust a bullet in the backside and say, you felt threatened. He come at you. And you defended yourself. That's what people are thinking, that it's simple as that. It's as simple as that. You just had to say you felt threatened and you use your firearm. You kill somebody and you figure you won't get off. It's not going to be that easy. But when that is how you sold it to the population, load up the matic, pull it back, knock it on them, and knock it again. I'm talking about protect. Your castle is your home. Your home is your castle, and you're supposed to, but it's your property. Simple things. Some people are really ignorant, or to use the local parlance, ignorant. I went to see one of my constituents the other day, and I'm passing this property, not fenced, open. It was kind of like those neighborhoods where you have the cul-de-sac, so people, you just have the open thing, right? A huge Julie mango tree at the front of the yard. Right by the pavement you're walking. It had Julie mangoes right there. Nice, ripe, full Julie mangoes falling from the tree. You see on the ground, laden. And you're watching all these Julie mangoes there looking good. You're passing. Right there. You on the pavement and the Julie mango right there and you're watching it. And you're watching us. I wonder if anybody around going, good evening. Good evening. You're hoping to call out the homeowner to ask if you could pick up a couple and nobody ain't answering. And if you're they ain't mind because it's on the ground, so you're going on waste anyway. And you decide to step foot on the people's property to say, go and pick up 2 mangoes. And next thing, what you doing there? What you doing there? You're in the people's property. You ask permission to come and pick up any mangoes? Eh? You see avocados? You ask permission for that? But it's okay. But all the supporters talking about, if a man breaking your house in the night, if a man breaking your house in the night, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do now? We have a gun now? What we do now? The same thing. What are you going to do now? I mean, 3 of them come and the 3 of them armed and you alone. You with your 1 gun and they with 3. The odds not in your favor. So chances are somebody in your house will get dead. Even if you are able to take out 1 or 2 of them, if they decide to open fire at the same time, you might end up, when the dust clear, you on the ground full of lead, and maybe you might if you aim good. Maybe you might take out 1 or 2 of them before you expire. That making sense. But they love to talk about statistics and data. Tell us the data. How many of these home invasions? I hear Moila say it has some 500 home invasions. How many of these home invasions ended with the homeowners being killed? You're not talking about those where they intentionally came to kill somebody. It wasn't to steal anything or to ransack. They came, they opened fire, they kill who they had to kill, and they leave. Those are not home invasions. Talk about the home invasion where they come to take things. How many of these home invasions have ended with the homeowners being killed or injured? Something happened, whether assault or whatever it is. How many? These are the statistics that we want to hear to give justification to these things, because you have other jurisdictions. Sure, the Caribbean region, they don't have, look, Jamaica, for the last decade, every year Jamaica recording over 1,000 murders. They reached a high of over 1,600 murders, I think 2 or 3 years ago. Look at the statistics this year. For the first time in over a decade, Jamaica is now on track to record less than 1,000 murders for the year. And they set that goal since in January. The police commissioner said, well, this is what we're aiming to have, less than 1,000 murders this year. And they are very well on track. And guess what? They were able to accomplish that without stand your ground legislation. In fact, the Jamaican Gleaner, a popular newspaper in Jamaica, condemned this administration for this stand your ground legislation. Very, very critical of this administration for that. What did Jamaica do? They had the state of emergency and the like. Right? They've been running state of emergency since before COVID. And it's finally starting to bear fruit. But no, here, yeah, anything to get into office. Promise the sun, the moon, the stars, all the things that we know will appeal, because somehow Trinidadians, well, more so Trinidadians than Tobagonians, seem to be enamored with the novelty of owning a firearm. Or 2, or 3, or 4. Because one is not enough. I like this one, I like this one, I like this one. You know, let me buy all of them. And I saw an article when Iria Alfonso say a gun could cost anywhere between $7,500 and $40,000. She would know her husband Taufik Ali, he has a gun dealership, so she would know very well. No wonder why she's supporting this legislation, right? But this legislation, even though it has nothing to do with gun, I don't think any mention of gun is in the legislation. I haven't seen it, but this has nothing to do with gun. But every time it was mentioned on the campaign trail by the administration, then opposition, it was always in the context of they come in your house, kill them. That's what Kamala said, load up the matic, cock it back, knock it on them and knock it again and again and again. Empty the clip, reload, and then empty it again and again and again. Show no mercy. That's what it is. So don't come now to try and backtrack. Say, well, you know, this is not a license to kill. This legislation is not a license to kill. But that's why you sold it to the people. That once somebody come into your home, you're justified to just bust bullets on them. Right? Use them for target practice. Bust open the chest. Open the skull. By the time the police come, the police must need to use dental records to identify them, because the amount of bullets, no facial recognition. That's basically how they sold it. And now they realize that having created that monster, you know, you're trying to rein it in after the fact. Okay. We want to bet they delay this legislation to make it easier for persons to acquire firearms. What do you see? Now you have Alexander talking about, see if I get it here, most nonsense. Arrant nonsense. The blame game. But you know, if Heinz had said that, where is it? I'm sure Mr. Heinz feeling vindicated now. All the things I let's say about him. Heinz is a dunce and Heinz this and.
It is difficult for me as the Homeland Security Minister,
He wasn't sure
because the police service was under resourced, the fire service, the prison service, and we just have to go now and fix all these things. When I should be concentrating just on crime, you know, you jump into something and you want to start with crime one time. But it's so difficult. In order to have these things, in order to treat with crime, you must have these places resourced. And it was left behind for so much years. And now I have to find ways to fix it. Because the Honorable Prime Minister said that no matter what we meet on our arrival, we will fix it. And that is what I am doing. However, it is difficult for me as the Homeland Security Minister, because the police service was under resourced, the fire service, the prison service, and we just have to go now and fix all these things. When I should be concentrating just on crime, you jump into something and you want to start with crime one time. But it's so difficult. In order to have these things, in order to treat with crime, you must have these places resourced. And it was left behind for so much years. And now I have to find ways to fix it. Because the Honorable Prime Minister said that no matter what we meet on our arrival, we will fix it. And that is what I am doing.
The only thing I can't take away these people, you all came to the Parliament for the mid-year review to ask for more money. The only money that I recall they would have asked for with respect to the police was an additional $3-point-something million that they said was for the payment for food for the state of emergency that was called on the 30th of December to April, right? $3-point-something million to feed the detainees and so on. They asked for more money. They were under-resourced and they were under-resourced and under-resourced, the police and so on. So why didn't ask for more money if they were so under-resourced? Because they still had another 3 months or 4 months to go before the end of the financial year. So is it that the money that they received in the last fiscal was sufficient for them to do everything? And they were under-resourced. I recall when Gary Griffith was the Commissioner of Police. Gary Griffith, one of the things he complained about was the overtime bill, the police service, over $300 and something million a year. And that he had to put things in place to reduce that, so that extra money that was normally going into overtime was able to provide for other things in the police service. So when Alexander coming to make excuses about the under-resourced and this was under-resourced and that was under-resourced and he now has to come and fix it and he can't jump. You had no plan. That you just wanted to jump in and fix crime. What did you want to do? Just jump in and do what? You told us walls, cameras, fence, gates. That's what you wanted to jump in and do? That had nothing to do with the police. That had nothing to do with the fire service. That has nothing to do with the prisons. And as far as I know, prisons are supposed to fall under the Ministry of Justice, not under the Ministry of Homeland Security. So I don't understand your complaint about this under-resource and that under-resource. You quoting departments that don't even fall under you. But the excuses have started because they had no plan. None. And so I am not fooled by the reasons given for the state of emergency. That is because you get intelligence that this was going to happen. The same thing they told us in 2011. You got intelligence that suggested, that said something was going to happen that was going to make the 1990 coup look like a tea party. Nobody was arrested for that. Not a grenade found, not a gun found, nothing. Nothing was found. But that's the story all they give. We know we're not stupid. You all had no answer to deal with the crime situation, the escalating murders. Because you all probably figured, hey, when we come in office, when UNC win, everybody win. So what? All the murderers were supposed to put down the guns? Hey, Rowley gone. We won't even committing murders because Rowley and the PNM was there, but now anti-cam's there, so we're going to stop killing. We're going to put down the guns. We're going back to church. We're going by Dito and buy some nice long sleeve shirt and some soft pants and church shoes. We're turning out, we're giving our lives to God now that anti-cam's coming because, she loves to sing, what's this song? The Goodness of God. Yeah. That was supposed to happen. And all of a sudden you saw an upsurge in murders. In the space of time that you are coming, over 100 murders. No plan to deal with that. So what do we do? Well, when we look at the statistics, we see the state of emergency was called the 30th of December. And when we look at the stats as at the end of April, we see there were about 70-something less murders for the year than there were for the same period last year. So clearly the state of emergency working. What else we can do about it? We can only that, because we don't want. But we say when the PNM in power is when murders skyrocket. But the murders seem to be on a downward trajectory up until the time the PNM left office. And as soon as we come in, it start to head in the wrong direction. How that would make we look. Because then we could no longer say when the PNM in office is when crime goes up, because we came in, the murders was kind of, low-key. All of a sudden, as we come in, it started to rise. So that damages our narrative that It's only when the PNM in office. And we can't end the year on record murders like last, because then how we will look. In 8 months, the amount of murders that happened in 8 months, as opposed to, and when the people will say, well, when the PNM was in office, up until when the PNM left office, the murders was on a downward trajectory. When they do the comparative, and now what should happen in the 8 months since we came into office? Now we need to fix that. How are we fixing that? Well, state of emergency until we can buy some time to come up with that plan. State of emergency. I'm fooling nobody with that. I am not fooled. So when I hear the Attorney General in his press conference make the statement that the last state of emergency, the one that was called in December by the last administration, was, quoting him, based on nothing. Based on nothing. His words. And I am concerned. Because if you're telling me that the last state of emergency was based on nothing, and we were told otherwise by the authorities at the time, that there was intelligence, the same intelligence forces who told you all that something was going to happen, that there was a plot to use a rocket launcher to blow up half of the AG office and to do this and to do that and so on. The same intelligence agencies is who we were told informed the last administration that there was going to be reprisal killings because of some killings that had taken place some days earlier where some 6 persons lost their life, and they were supposed to be reprisal killings which would have resulted in the loss of innocent lives as well. So when you could come and say the last state of emergency was based on nothing, it means then that narrative, that reason that we were given was a falsehood, which suggests that the population was misled. The president was misled because the intelligence had to be sent to the president, and the president has to be satisfied with the reasons given for the proclamation of the state of emergency. So if you are saying that all of that was a ruse, a contrivance, a lie, and that's misbehavior in public office, what are you doing about it? Nothing? So you come and tell the population it was based on nothing. There was no threat, basically. So the rights of citizens were curtailed based on a fallacy, which to my mind is misbehavior in public office. And you ain't charge nobody, no investigation or nothing, so we just leave it as a. Well, if you people stupid, yes. Let's see if I could take a call or two before I bust out. It's been a while since I've spoken directly to you guys. Let's see. It's been so long I can't even remember the number. But forgive me. Let's see what this is saying here. I think it's 7701763, but you'll have to call on the WhatsApp. Okay, all right. See here. Right. Denise Bramble is saying they don't want people to protest. Melkarok is saying people like Mr. Alexander had all opportunities to do his job. But every day he on TV6 and can't give this country any good plan. Now he in government, he still can't come up with a good plan. That's the thing. They were in opposition for 10 years. 10 years. They were supposed to be formulating plans in preparation to get back into government. But you see, when you're suffering from never thought, you never thought you were going to get back into office. Now you get back into office. And, well, all them things we tell all, it was just part of the course, because it was a campaign, but we didn't really think you were going to take us seriously. But now you take us seriously and we find ourselves in a bind, so we have to, what we good? Yeah? We played by ear, one day at a time, sweet Jesus. Just now they're going to start quoting verse and scripture, Deuteronomy 8, Exodus 12, all them kind of thing. Yeah, God's willing, we'll find the money to pay the 10%. But in the meantime, if you have some, please give it to us. Hold strain, don't worry. Keep the faith. We didn't forget all, yeah? We're just trying to figure it out right now. Okay. Mario Guevara is saying, wasn't a state prosecutor shot after attending a church service after the state of emergency in 2024, December? Correct, Mario. That is correct. But you have And then now they're telling us that that was linked to. But the same Attorney General come to tell us it was based on nothing. He says so. Right? And they're allowing to get away with it. Let me see if I find this here. I don't want to misquote. But I know what I heard and I know what I read. So many things to save. Oops, it. Angie brutal. Oh Lord. I'm a little on a call, man. Let me see if I find this here, boy. Where is it? Right. I think this is it. Let's see. Right, I'm not finding it, but I'll find it, folks, and probably I'll touch on it the next time where he said that it was based on nothing. Deborah Duranty says this country will be under a state of emergency for almost 9 months and counting. I wouldn't doubt that. They just need it long enough to be able to get the murder figures down to a point where if you bring it to an end, there wouldn't be sufficient months left in the year for there to be such a significant upsurge that the figures could be comparative to what would have occurred when the PNM was in office. Emmeline Harvey saying, take away bread and butter and then lock down the country. Exactly. You know what's the hypocrisy? These are the same people who are telling us, who are trying to link crime and poverty all the time. Saying that, poor people, poverty is when a man can't feed the family and he has nothing to eat and so on and so on. That's why he turns to crime. But yet still you all come and put thousands of people on the breadline. And we expect to happen. Is it that you anticipate that there's going to be an upsurge? Check and see how many of these people who committing these home invasions, or those who they catch. Check the criminal background. See how many of them on bail. Let us not forget Prasad, the food king, right? The matriarch and patriarch of the family were robbed, I think 2 years ago or something like that. They were the victims of home invasion. They had 2 firearms in the home. And the guys came in and they took the firearms, ransacked the house and whatnot and stuff. And they spared the life of the elderly couple. But they had firearms. They could have stand the ground. But the elderly, how are they doing that? So 2 licensed firearms ended up in the hands of these criminals. And one of them, the man who was identified as the ringleader, had been incarcerated for years on murder. And when it is that the UNC lawyers went to the court and were able to have murder overturned as a non-bailable offense, the gentleman applied. He applied for bail and got it. And one of the first things he decided to do was to return to a life of crime. Return to a life of crime. Home invasion. Those 2 people could have been deceased. And they had walls, gates, cameras, all the things that Alexander tell you is what is needed to protect you. They had all of that. And guns. And they were still victims of home invasion. Did we abandon the El Salvadorian model? Remember we heard about that too? That was one of the crime plans. We abandoned that either? Right. Let's see who we have here. Hello, good afternoon. All right, I don't know why that call cut off. Call me back. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon, Dominic.
Yes, sir. Greetings.
Good afternoon to you again and to your callers. Dominic, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to share a little contribution and just ask you one question.
Sure.
So, how before the elections, and yours too, when I joined in 2023, you were echoing to all the callers, the viewers on the show in the morning, that if you make the mistake and vote for these people, right, we will end up in 2015. Yes. And in your program before the elections, even before you got nominated, right, to run for the seat,
yes,
you all kept echoing to us, don't make that mistake, and go and vote for the UNC, or give away a vote.
Yes.
Or not even going to vote. This was before even the election bell was rung. I remember you were echoing it, but I was wondering, what were you all seeing or what were you all hearing on the ground that may have this belief that people were not going to vote for the PNM after all the things that were being discussed, the audits that was done on the country, the sit down with the nation, the sit downs with the business sectors in the Hilton Hotel by Dr. Rowley himself, how people could not attach themselves and realize, well, wait now, this is a serious thing. And we may be going into some difficulty, maybe in some hard times, and we may have to listen to the doctor when he calls upon us to accept the bitter medicine for remedy. Right? Just wanted to know how you all knew that. Because today now, you're seeing the results that it went right and people just went and restrained from voting for the PNM based on the knowledge that was in front of them. I would like to say more, but I wouldn't right now because what I am seeing is that because of the low gas revenues, the carbons that we are not getting right now are not even produced.
Yes. We
don't know if the contracts are fully endorsed. We don't know what is the UN's policy right now. Right? And then, as Stuart Young and Dr. Rowley pointed out in the 25th anniversary of Atlantic Energy last year, right, that we will be in some troubled times now until the second quarter of 2027.
Yes.
Right? And they say most likely the poor and the vulnerable will hit hard.
Yep.
Right? Where we haven't seen nothing from the UNC, no policy to address these issues. Right? So we now are going to be faced with dolly-dally and have no idea of what the future will be, the financial sector will be, and looking like doom and gloom. And the result is, we could be, as you say, as Colin Bird said, we could be in a perpetual state of emergency until this government finally grasps the way to rule this country.
Correct.
Dominic, thank you very much for your time and accepting my call. God bless our country, Trinidad and Tobago.
Indeed. Indeed. I mean, during the campaigning, we were encountering persons who said that they were PNM. They were upset about one thing or the other, who was upset because they didn't like how Stuart Young became Prime Minister. They didn't like what happened in Tobago, who was upset about the decision of the government to accept the Salary Review Commission report. So there are a number of things persons was upset about. And even though we were showing them and telling them, look, we understand that. Because we are all citizens of Trinidad, we understand that. But just as the situation, mistakes were made. But look at the bigger picture. What does the alternative offer? Because the alternative fueling the fire with respect to this salary increase. And that was one of the biggest things that turned off people. But while they pretend, they could say what they want, or they don't want it, and they do this, and they do that, and all of that. But the fact of the matter is they knew they wanted it. And because the cabinet took the decision to accept it, that was like a gift to them, because they could now come and pretend and say, well, we are against it and we think that now is not the time and whatnot and the like. And people bought into that rhetoric. People felt that the UNC really cared, but they didn't, as evidenced by the fact that the first opportunity they got to allocate monies for back pay for the same increase that they didn't want, they took it. I pointed out to you all, they came in the mid-year review, to ask for money to be allocated to pay them their back pay for the pay raise that they didn't want. They didn't say, oh, we can wait until October. We'll put it in that budget. Because we're getting paid now as members of parliament, the new salary, the increased salary. We're getting paid as ministers, we are now in government, the new salary, the increased salary. So we could hold out on the back pay for the increase that we got as members of parliament. Because there's 2 salaries you get now and all the different perks. You could have hold out for a few months, 3 months, 4 months. No, they come in the mid-year review to allocate money for the back pay. That was important to them. Couldn't wait. For the same pay raise they didn't want. So if you didn't want the pay raise, why are you running on the back pay? That could wait. Because if you had your way when you say you didn't want the pay raise, you wasn't going to be entitled to no back pay. So how you're so hurried to come for your back pay? To allocate money for that, and it has so many other things. Right? They were saying that pay raise, that money could have been better spent to pave a road and to build school and to buy medicine in the hospital and all of these. They could have tell you everything that money could have paid for. And well, back pay could have paid for them things too. Why I couldn't wait? Do you think the supporters will chastise them for that? Of course not. Because that was important. So while you were contemplating sending home thousands of workers, in the same cabinet meeting, you were discussing allocating money for your back pay while putting in place policy to take away the meager salary from the most economically vulnerable. Right? That is the government that cares. Half of me belongs to you. The other half I give to you. You have had leaders before me. You will have leaders after me, but you will never have a leader who loves you as much as I. And to show you how much I love you, hold a pink slip. Take that. Hush your mouth. Don't take away your work. Because you are a grass cutter. And I have such greater aspirations for you than you being a grass cutter. But you need to give me some time to formulate a plan as to how to transition you from grass cutting to something else. But it's going to mean months and months of hardship and suffering while I try to come up with a plan on how to fix your circumstance. In the meanwhile, we requested $60 million for CPEP, again in the mid-year review, to carry CPEP to the end of the fiscal, which is September 30th. But then we shut down the program. So what are going on with that money that the parliament voted for? $60 million. We're going on with that. Because that was supposed to pay CPEP salaries, among other things, until September 30th. So unless if you're not planning to pay these workers for the rest of the fiscal, we're going over that money. In the meantime, we were able to find money to host Prime Minister Moody. And we say, well, it's only $900,000. But we get back, when we look at the returns on that, Prime Minister Moody gave us 2,000 laptops, and Prime Minister Moody is donating 20 dialysis machines and some other thing and some prosthetic something they're going to set up. So when we look at all of the things that we got in return, well, it's still in arrears. From the previous visit of Mrs. Prasad Bisesa in her first incarnation as Prime Minister to India, cost us $15 million. We got nothing, zip, nada, salt from that trip. So you all started off Moody's visit $15 million in the red, in deficit. You need to clear that. So you need to tell us what is the value of this 2,000 laptops? What is the value of this 20,000 dialysis machines? And others, and wherever else, and let us deduct that from the 15 million and see whether or not we're in a surplus or if we're still in deficit. So miss me with a BS about we get this and we get that. And no. So it's 15 point something and we had the 900, so we took it up to $16 million. You're in deficit for relations with India. Okay? Just putting that out there. Let's see. Just give me 1 second there, folks. Just 1 second. Right, let's see here. Let's see, I could probably take 2 more quick calls before I leave. This is a repeat. Rosalind Norrie saying, this is a repeat of 2010. If one minister's salary is that much, how much to find that large cabinet and to run the country with no added revenue and sources of revenue removed? Exactly. So there's someone on here by the name of Troy Smith saying we are wait to vote out Penny and the evil wicked PNM. Troy, you can't vote out the Penny and the PNM because we're not in power. We're not in power, Troy. Okay? So the only person, people you could vote out is the UNC. So get right now. Nothing wrong with all this. PNM wicked. You know, sometimes I had a question I don't know, I can't even call it the intelligence, the donkey logic of UNC supporters. You want to call the PNM wicked and evil. The PNM didn't send home 30,000 of the most economically vulnerable workers in this country. Since 2018, all singing a song about how much thousands of people lost their job because the closure of Petrochin, and thousands lost their job and thousands lost their job. Many of these Petrochin workers went home with good money. But all singing how much people lost their job and how much people lost their job. And in the space of 3 months, some of the people who are at the lowest end of the economic ladder got sent home. You, Mr. Smith, right? You don't have to deal with these people on a weekly basis. I do. My colleagues do. So when it is I sit down in my office and a man comes in and 2 to 3 minutes into the conversation, he started to cry because he's facing eviction. His family is about to lose the roof over their head because they rent in arrears. And he's at his wit's end. He beg and scrape here, there, and everywhere, and he's just looking for help to rally for another month until he could find something to do. If there's anything we could do at all whatsoever to get him some little job somewhere, even if it's something for 2 days or 3 days so he could get some money to pay the landlord, to get the landlord off his back for a month. You all don't see these things. But coming to talk nonsense about the PNM wicked and evil, go on Stuart Young's page and see for the second time the amount of hampers that Stuart has given out to CPEP workers in his constituency. Could you see that on the Facebook page of any of these UNC MPs? Any of them did that? They are the ones who are the ministers and the parliamentary secretaries who making all this money I just told you all about, over $70,000 a month. None of us in the opposition making that. They making that. So they could more than afford. Instead, what they do, Vandana jump on the back of a fish truck and driving wrong. Good night, residents. Good night, residents. This is your MP, Vandana Mohit. Bring out your bag, bring out your bowl, bring out your terrine, come and get some fish. They say, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him to fish. You feed him for a lifetime. You teach the man to fish. And while he fishing, you come and take back all the equipment that he was using to fish. And passing every so often, bring out your bowl, bring out your container, bring out your bag, come and collect some fish. Right? In reverse. So rather than teaching, allowing him to practice the skill that you taught him, you just want to give him a fish. Keep him in perpetual dependence. And that is what is happening. Right? Well, they want to bad talk Kareem, Kareem can't talk, and he tight tongue, and he this and that, all kind of things you're all saying about Kareem. Right? But at least he step up. Where are the UNC lawyers? Where are they to defend the CPEP workers? Because these CPEP workers can't pay the high price that they call in. But Kareem ain't getting paid for that. Larry Lala and others, they're not getting paid for that. They're doing this to help these people genuinely. To at least appeal to the government to have a heart now. Have a heart. Help out these people. Do something. Change course. You want to restructure the program, no problem. But you could do that without suspending the program indefinitely. Without having a care for these people and how they eat. So when it is people come to my office every week, Mr. Smith, and I have to dip into my pocket to help. And I know my other colleagues are going through the same thing. And you want to call us wicked and evil. Wicked and evil people don't dip in their pocket and pull from their own personal resources to help people to be able to make up their rent, to keep a roof over their head for another month. Wicked and evil people don't do that. Wicked and evil people don't say, bring your book list. Let me see if I could help you. Right? If I can't fill it myself, let me see if I could find a constituent or two who is willing to assist. Wicked and evil people don't do that. Wicked and evil people don't dip into their pocket and say, right, let's see how many school bags we could put together. Let's see how many sneakers we could purchase. Let's see if we could have a haircut day or a day to plait hair or braid hair for the girls or something like that. Wicked and evil people don't do those things. So when you all want to come on here and talk nonsense and label us as wicked and evil, check all yourself. Because you don't know what we have to deal with on a weekly basis when people come to our office. You don't know. That is not your problem. So when you're happy because you have your job and you have a paycheck coming at the fortnight or the end of the month, and you don't have to worry how your bill's paying, we see it every week. 5, 6, 10 people, one after the next with the same complaint. What are we supposed to do? Parliament doesn't give us money for that. The government doesn't give us money for that. But when we see the plight of these people, we can't let them leave our office without hope. But as little as we could do to help them, maybe we could direct them somewhere, pick up the phone and call somebody in a grocery or some factory and beg, have a man here, the man about to lose his home, or he renting, in arrears, we need something. What you could do? Anything. Yeah, anything you can help out with, we beg in. This is what we do. Fortunately, I have people in my office who have contacts and we are able to do that, but not everybody has the ability and the wherewithal to do that. So when you all want to come and call us wicked and evil, check all yourself. Wicked and evil is somebody who could take away bread from people. And as Munina said there, I read it for you all earlier, accused the last administration of being wicked to bring this program to an end in the July-August vacation. He said that it was wrong. He said that it was wicked. And they come and do it. So what does that make it? When the PNM do it, is wicked, but when the UNC do it, is all right? Because they do it on the basis or the claim that it's to weed out corruption. Miss us with that BS, please. Miss us with that. Since UNC in power, you started back eating macaroni pie. That's good for you. But since UNC in power, over 30,000 people could no longer eat macaroni pie, Mr. Smith. So you check yourself, because 30,000 is more than one. So if you want to come and boast that you, because of the UNC, you could now start back eating macaroni pie, just check yourself and remember, you probably have people living on your own street who can't afford to eat macaroni pie. So spare a thought for them and maybe make an extra one and carry it for them to eat now. Ridiculous. Well, let's really come here to talk nonsense and set up my blood pressure, Idiocy that you UNC supporters come with. Nonsense. If you profiting from the UNC, you win, great. But over 30,000 people lost. Study that. Study that they extend the school term by a whole week. And so when some of these parents looking forward to school reopening on the 1st or the 2nd, as the case may be, because a school feeding program. So at least the children will get breakfast and they'll have lunch. So we only have to worry about dinner. There's a whole extra week that they now have to find money that they don't have to feed their children who are at home. So when you eating your ham, lamb, and jam and eating your turkey and your kalaloo and your macaroni pie, there are people in your own neighborhood who can no longer do that, who up until a month or so ago could have done that and can't. And there is no reason why they should have stopped doing that. If your wicked government that claim to love so much didn't take away their means of being able to go to the grocery and to pay their bills. Give me your number now. Post your number here so that next week when I have office day, well, this week when I have office day, and somebody comes in and they tell me they don't have food to feed their family, I could give them your number and they could call you and you could show them how they could eat macaroni pie just as you eating it. Give me and post your number here so we could send it. We could give all of these people when they come in and they don't know how they're gonna buy books. Look, call this person Troy Smith. He eating macaroni pie since the UNC come into office, so maybe he could help you out. Post the number there. This is nonsense you all like to come and boast. But no regard and care for people suffering. Ridiculous. Nonsense. Where all these UNC clowns come out from? Come on. Bachelor, what nonsense? Let the corruption continue so the people in CPEP get a paycheck. You know, when you're all quick to buy into the foolish narrative, okay? There were 9 contractors in my constituency, 9. All right, Winston? And I could tell you, none of them wasn't involved in any racket and any corruption that you all like to talk because your handlers told you all that foolishness. Rubbish. Because I used to see the work that they do it. And when it is the UNC want to come and tell you about, okay, a handful of people probably eat our food. You feel that didn't happen between 2010 to 2015? Why was Rudolph Munira so quick to come and defend? When the PNM, as you heard me read earlier on, in 2016, wanted to review the program, why did Munira come out to make this thing and to complain about it? What did they do between 2010 to 2015 to deal with the corruption? So it's only when the PNM and power does have CPEP, does have that, and URP? What utter nonsense. One of the first things is a URP office right on the highway just before the Piaco lights, right there for this region. And as soon as the UNC won the election, I had constituents who worked with me in the election, who work in there for how much years, called me and tell me, hey, you know, the UNC people don't reach and they don't tell me already who go in and who they bring in, and they come with a whole list of names and to put on this one name and put on that one name. And they come with some 3,000 names. That is why Khadija Amin sent out a communique, right? A memo, which was sent to me by one of these persons in which instructions were given to not to hire anybody because they heard about it. First, it was they had put the URP under, it was alleged to put it under Anil Roberts. And people were already told, they go and deal with that. Handle. And then it was removed from under him and it was put under Khadija Amin. But they wasted no time. The goons descended on the office down in Piaco there. That is why Kamala Prasad-Bissessar is saying that UNC supporters upset with her and upset with her government because of they were hoping that they would replace, this is her words, she said that. Our own people, our supporters vexed with us because they wanted, or they were hoping for us to replace the CPEP and the URP. What did she mean by replace? Replace the URP and CPEP, the URP administrators, replace the CPEP contractors, the PNM contractors with UNC contractors. Don't change anything about the program. Just get rid of the PNM people and give us the contracts so that they could like themselves and eat our food because we were campaigning for you all. That's what she said. What corruption have they identified other than they come to complain and tell you about Faris extended the contracts without cabinet approval? When Colmebut has come out and said that he, as Minister of Finance, brought a note to cabinet in 2017 which authorized CPEP to issue new contracts and the like. That was a standing note and it was never, as he said, it was never rescinded. So cabinet would have given approval since 2017, given the authority to CPEP to do these things. So what is every time you need to do, you keep going back to cabinet? Cabinet established a standing note We authorizing CPEP to hire. We're authorizing CPEP if they need to bring on new contractors. This is what to do. It was there. So come on now, man. Winston, you know, I just had to wonder sometimes. Y'all have a sense of logic when you're seeing all these things and coming here to court. Why the AG have to put evidence in the DPP hands for legal charges? For what charges? The DPP could charge anybody? The DPP could investigate anybody? The process is the police investigates, the police puts together a file, they would recommend charges, they go to the DPP, this is what we find and this is what. The DPP will then, office will review the file, and if it is, they determine that there is a prima facie case could be made out, or they determine that this is a winnable case, the DPP will then instruct the police to go ahead and charge. So sending this to the DPP, it makes no sense. It's just like when Petrotrin with the AV drilling matter. Petrotrin, after they did their internal investigation, sent the file to the DPP. And what did the DPP do? He sent the file to the police. When the media reached out to him for comment, the DPP said, well, the process is that the police has to investigate. So the file came to me from Petrotrin, and I forwarded the file to the police for them to do their investigation. And when they complete the investigation, they'll come back to him with the file, show him what evidence they have. But what is this thing about charges against Paris for what? As the line minister, for if he gave instructions to extend the contracts? What is the issue with that? What's the big issue with that? So here what to do? There were UNC contractors and PNM contractors, right? But people like Ole find what? That they should charge him for extending the contracts to the PNM contractors, but leave the UNC contractors alone. And why is it that UNC supporters upset with their government over CPEP and URP? Why are they upset? Tell us that now. If this corruption, and they had corruption, they should be happy that the government weeding out corruption. But you're vexed with your own government for weeding out corruption? No. You're vexed with your government because the so-called corruption, you wanted to profit from it. You wanted to benefit from it. But they keep shifting the goalposts because it went from corruption to these programs were only creating grass cutters. So we had to discontinue the programs because it was a nation of grass cutters. And then it went to these programs were making the workers in the corporations lazy. So which is it? Which is it? Is it because of corruption? Is it because these programs were going nowhere and they were creating a nation of grass cutters, or is it because they were making the borough corporation workers lazy? It's three different narratives we get in. Which one it is? Tell us now, since all is so bright, which one it is? Pick one. Pick a struggle. Gosh, boy. And then you come back again, he did not get Parliament approval for contracts. Winston, he did not need Parliament approval. That has nothing to do with Parliament. They said cabinet approval. You come in here to talk rubbish and can't even get your rhetoric right. It has nothing to do with Parliament. It is cabinet. And I just told you, Colm Imbert indicated that as Minister of Finance Corporation sole, who has responsibility for all these state enterprises, he brought a note to cabinet, which cabinet approved in 2017, giving CPEP the authorization to be able to issue new contracts, to extend all of these things, to deal with CPEP. And the note was never rescinded. So there is a standing note which still exists, which this government has not rescinded. Why can't you all understand that? But you're only listening to the rhetoric and the foolishness from the government that you support, and logic on the other side, you're tone deaf. So you didn't hear when Mr. Imbert came into my constituency. We had a meeting, a public meeting, and he said it. The media covered that. It was covered and carried in the newspaper, and then Paris repeated it last week. But you ain't hear that. But you heard DPP. Same nonsense. All you come at this. The Privy Council say to investigate Imbert. The Privy Council say investigate Imbert. The Privy Council say. Privy Council said nothing of the sort. One Lord asked, why is it that Mr. Imbert was not also part of the probe, since the Auditor General made certain claims against him? And therefore, if it's an independent entity that is doing the probe, then they should also probe the claims by the Auditor General and not just the claims by Mr. Imbert. But what the Privy Council say, and the police, and they should charge him, but you all need to start taking the time and read and understand before you come here and talk rubbish and embarrass yourselves and show that you don't have a grasp of what is being said. That's why I don't do the lives as often again, because I have enough stress to deal with. I can't deal with that. Hey boy. Jeez and ages. It's like you all just don't want to learn, don't want to understand. It's simple. It's simple. Oh, Lord Father. You know, Bachelor is asking me all kind of questions. I want to ask you, what going on with Barry case with the investigation into Barry and the $135,000 that he gave Kamala, that he can't remember what he gave her? What going on with that? Since he's a corruption buster and he's against corruption, he should be against his own allegations of corruption. It's 2020, the police investigating that. Nobody ain't sending that by the DPP. You ain't concerned about that, Winston, that the Minister of Public Utilities stands accused of all manner of wrongdoing. Stands accused of trying to hide money in his mother's bank account and in his mother's life insurance policy. Minister of Government, who, as far as we know, is under police investigation. You're not concerned about that investigation. No questions on that. You don't want to know the outcome of that and when that going by the DPP. Okay. Anti-cams rooting out the PNM evil and corruption. What the RPNM left in 9 years. Well, I guess you must be a disciple of False Teeth, better known as Wall Street, and some are born talking about RPNM and RPNM. But there's something wrong with it. Where does this come from? This choice, man. Who are you? You know that's not your name. Anti-cams rooting out PNM evil corruption. Anti-cams appoint a man as chairman of NGC, one Gerald Ramdeen. The same Gerald Ramdeen who is currently still under police investigation for cutting and pasting witness statements of prisoners, creating false narratives to deprive the state of millions of dollars. The same Gerald Ramdeen who stood accused of holding on to monies belonging to one of his clients after he sued the state or whatever, and an award was made, and they went on and then they appealed the matter to get a bigger award. Right? The man dead. Mr. Ramdeen didn't know the man dead, but somehow the documents for approving the appeal, to proceed with the appeal, the man signed, and the date on which he signed was after he was dead. So I don't know if Mrs. Prasad Bisesa went to the regular cemetery and performed political necromancy and got Mr. Merrick to rise from the dead, to sign the form and then go back and sleep. But you want to come and tell me about she rooting out corruption and put that man there, who is still subject of at least 2 police investigations, who got charges dropped against him on a technicality because the main witness refused to testify, and the DPP is on record as having said, yes, the same DPP, all they want to talk about, that once it is that Mr. Nelson's matter is resolved, his civil case is resolved, and if he is inclined to give testimony, that the DPP would be inclined to reinstitute the charges against these 2 men. So they didn't get off because they were found innocent. They got off on a technicality because the law in Trinidad says that if there's a witness and witness statement and the person is alive and well, they must present themselves in person before the court to give evidence. Right? Mr. Nelson at the time thought that he was going to kaput because he had cancer. He is now in remission, so he is good. He still has life in him, and yeah. But you want to tell me about rooting out corruption and a man like that? You put Tim Gopi Singh to lead is the NWRHA or whichever one, or But when he was the head of the same chairman of the NCRHA some years ago, charges were proffered against him for misbehavior in public office at that entity. But you bring him back and put him on another regional authority, regional health authority, and you all want to come and tell me nonsense about rooting out corruption? Really? Rooting out evil bear, but she will keep, so she rooting out PNM evil and corruption, but she will keep UNC evil and UNC corruption. That's what you like. Yeah, that's what you like. So they told us $63 million was spent by the last administration to renovate the prime minister's residence in Tobago. $63 million 2 years ago. That's a lot of money. A lot of work would have been done. And now they come to tell you, they went on 2 or 3 weekends ago, they went on a tour of the prime minister's residence in Tobago, and it requires extensive remedial work. So they go in and spend more millions to conduct extensive remedial work on a house that they said $63 million was spent on to renovate 2 years ago, which Dr. Rowley probably used a few times. But in 2 years, they want to tell you that there was such a state of disrepair that it requires millions of dollars to repair. The Prime Minister doesn't even use the official residence in Trinidad. But they go in and repair the one in Tobago. She ain't using the one in Trinidad. So the likelihood of her using the one in Tobago is even less. But that is a priority. Find millions to fix that. Meanwhile, people who had a job, as low paying as it was, they had a job and was paying the bills, putting food on the table and allowing them to enjoy some of the creature comforts of life. You take that away from them without a lifeline. No hotline, no lifeline. You put them on the breadline. And you have people coming here to defend that foolishness and talk about evil. If you think, Troy Smith, that taking away food from these people is good, if you think corruption busting, yes, that these people should suffer, because even if you want to come and say, well, they had corruption, the corruption didn't involve the workers. If you want to claim corruption, at best, you would have had some contractors. Why the workers had to suffer for the actions of some contractors? Why? Because when the contractors was drawing the big money, them have money saved, you know. So they could probably rally for a few months. Workers can't, because they live in paycheck to paycheck. So again, I ask you, put your number in the chat. Put your cell phone number in the chat. Put your address in the chat. So when I see some of these same CPEP workers later on this week in my office and they're asking for help, I could give them your number and give them your address so they could come by you and you could help them. You could show them how you eating macaroni pie under the UNC, and so they could do the same thing and eat macaroni pie under the UNC too. Help them out now. Brian. Greeting. Just now, let me just put back on this thing here. Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon to you, Dominic. Good to have you back.
Thank you.
Good afternoon to your listeners and callers. Dominic, you know, I really had hoped that you would have given up on people like Bachelor and them, because he doesn't live in Trinidad.
Oh, Lord.
And they don't understand, and they're not seeing what is going on here. Because here it is, as soon as UNC got back into office, one of the first persons that they hired to all of the legal activities is a man who has questions to answer against the state. Also, he has some civil issues to deal with vis-a-vis the last Dr. Keith Rowley, the last Prime Minister. There's an issue with him. But they have the same Kamala Prasad Desessa has this man sitting down in the office of the Attorney General, an office that is supposed to be prosecuting him on a number of issues and standing up for the state, representing the state. How could that be? And Bachelor and them talking about corruption? That the head of Freedom Chambers who have questions to answer against the state, sitting down in the same state office where you could see all of the tactics and all of the things that he may have to answer questions about, that this present government has rehired him in a series of matters. And Bachelor and them are seeing that. They're not seeing that. So this man is not only having questions to answer eventually, but he's making money off of you and me, Dominic. Millions of dollars he would have already made in the 3 months. By people who, you say, only with a cutting grass country that keep us keeping the roads and the byways and the highways clean and the drains unplugged. According to one economist who's supposed to know better, it should be 10 years before they even get back or reopen CPEP. Imagine that. An economist who's supposed to know better could make such a statement. This is an economist between 2010 and 15 wrote a paper for $2 million, was given that contract. If Comember didn't say that in the parliament, you would not even know that this particular economist wrote one piece of paper and collected $2 million. But today, those same CPEP workers and URP workers and all of them shouldn't get nothing for the next 10 years. Because it's a waste of money. And what they were doing was next to nothing. And I had to listen to another minister saying how CPEP was undermining. Imagine that, undermining the work that to be done by the corporations. Imagine she saying that. But between 2010 and 15, she didn't say that. She didn't say that. And not about really, and he's the economist. Those people should be forced, that's the word you use, forced to go and become entrepreneurs and look for work in the private sector.
Yes.
What part of the private sector with the other people who may only have 1 or 2 or 3 passes? Or maybe just have a school living and all they can afford to do is what they're doing right now. And their salary, their little pay that they get, they're not living paycheck to paycheck. And trying to put food on the table for the children and for themselves to eat. And every time you go by the grocery, meeting new prices, up, not down. And with this 15% tariff, they're going to get worse. Nobody ain't talking about these things. But when the UNC train party in Tobago and drinking out the marriage and the parish and drinking the best, I ain't here for Ali complain. Everything good now. You little bit of Contractor, you get the little $32 million, you find the other complaint, I don't worsen now, but today, that government doing everything so well. Congratulations to them. And the kind of things that Dr. Rowley had done for Tobago alone, even the airport, they want to open the airport. Why? Because it's a PNM project. And you can't tell them when the airport is going to open. We're talking about tourism and across this suffering and all sorts of stupidness. And they have an international world first-class airport. I said it open at least since July. And they can't tell them when it's going to open and be used. And I have to listen to people like Bachelor and all of them talking about fuck stupidness. Bachelor better watch yourself because Trump on the war part, ice on the war part, may very well find his backside right back in Trinidad here. Nothing to do. He better watch himself first. Here the next one. Paul C. Gotta be very, very careful. So that's all of them And so they can't show the face outside because once I see their pigmentation, that's it. But maybe it might be in Trinidad, might be somewhere in Africa, in El Salvador, somewhere. So you better be careful. And I tell you that these people, when nearly 12,000 people, but it's more now because URP would have gotten the letters, apparently. And all the others who have been let go. Let go. And all the boards that being created today all over the place. Look at the boards. And I tell people writing on social media how well maybe perhaps African people not educated enough to be on the board. So all the board, previous boards before they weren't educated. Huh? These are the type of racist and racial things I have to read it and looking on at. That's why I'm not commenting sometimes because it just don't make sense. These people, they have always had this attitude and it ain't going to change. Vishnu, Raghunath, all of them, the whole side, all, at all. You understand? The true colors are now coming out. And it's not going to change, it's only going to get worse. But you're going to see how much money they're going to get when the budget comes around. The budget is far again. You're going to see. And every time I listen to the Minister of Homeland Security and this new commissioner that are watching kind of squidgy. Every time they mention the murder rate, it keeps going down. And he's saying it going down. He's right because one man was 234, now he is 231. But I have information they done pass way over 300 already. But left to them, it's going down. You understand? That's close to 100 murders in 1 month. Ian Allen said in July last month, the 21st and the 15th of the month, they had 25 murders. And every single day there's a murder or 2 or 3. But the murders going down. Even during the SOE. Complaining, and people say, well, okay, all you have the people on the inside forming a syndicate. What about those on the outside? 2 days later, I heard the commissioner say how we have got the right-hand man of one of the men that we have inside. And he had a sophisticated gun to kill people. What do you know about the right-hand man? How you know he had a gun to kill certain people? How you know that? What is his name? And he's the right-hand man of who? Nobody knows. You're not even under arrest. It's just holy. Hey, no, end of October going to come, and we're going to see who will be before the court. I am watching this commissioner, Scoogy. This commissioner who became commissioner of police and jump over plenty people who were in line. Because he was not even an assistant commissioner. So I'm waiting to see. I am watching. I am waiting. According to a certain individual. This is the short word man, Mr. Alexander. Wait and see. What are we waiting to see? How many people are being shot and killed by the police? I saw the plan to solve crime. Is that the plan? Wait and see. The bricks fellow who escaped from YTRC. He was a murderer. All of a sudden, he was shot by police. Did he have a firearm with him? We don't know. Shot and killed. But I guess that's how they plan to solve the crime. Because when you're dead, you can't defend yourself in court. You're dead and you're done. And that's the end of that. That's the end of you. Understand? But we'll wait and see, Dominic. We will wait and see.
That's right.
Because the budget is not far, as you said a lot earlier. We will wait and we will see what comes in the budget, how much are the 10% they're going to give. I want to see what politicians are, what are they going to say if they don't get a 10% plus. You're hearing a word from Roche. All of these CPEP, all of these workers who can defend themselves in the court, can afford to hire an attorney. And all of these these union leaders, not a word except one say, but them is collateral damage. But I had to watch he years back on my TV every day, say he fighting for workers. The day them workers is collateral damage. All because he pay looking real nice. Because he is the one of them who is a full minister, I think. So he gets bigger money than the $70,000. Big in the dance as an MP.
That's right.
Understand? So he ain't big enough. All of them will get this big money now. I had to listen to the minister from the member of Parliament for Point 14 in his inaugural speech, talking about pegging the oil price against WTI, Western Texas Instruments. When it's Western Texas Intermediate, and he's a member of the OWTO, he didn't even know it's Western Texas Intermediate. So let's not listen to it. He says Western Texas Instruments.
Brian, you have the Minister of Homeland Security said absolute instead of obsolete.
Yes.
The
You understand?
the Minister of Culture said invention instead of divine invention instead of divine intervention.
Intervention. Imagine that. And then reading from our documentation. Then went to school.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's so sad. And people thumping the desk. Thumping the desk. Because what? You have a document in your hand and you can barely read it. How sad. But what are you going to do? You get what you deserve.
Mm-hmm.
What you vote for, or didn't vote for. And they have a full 5 years that have to get because the 3 months is only the addition. So we even start the good 5 months yet because they may have another 14 to 15 or 3 weeks again to go. So all who having regrets now, well, they have 5 more years that have to face. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you very much, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. Let me just read this for the benefit of people like Troy Smitter. Just give me 1 sec. Let me read this quickly. And Winston. Legacy of peace built on life of crime. Quoted by politician Mova Godfather traded votes for URP rank. These are the elements that took Sean Bill Francis from his perch on a culvert in Vegas Mova to private meetings with a prime minister and political platform during a general election. It was at this same roost to where he had returned that Francis was shot and killed last Monday night, opposite the home he had built and which was surrounded by the community fashioned through his status as a URP program administrator. Police described Francis as a gang leader, but admitted he was also instrumental in fashioning peace in the ghettos of Mova and Lavantil. In 1998, Francis was the godfather of Vegas Mova. For the people pulling the strings, the ones with the influence, Francis was a means of cementing popular support in the East-West corridor through the URP program. The central-based United National Congress used him to help maintain the peace in the PNM-dominated East Port of Spain as the party came into power, the first time in the history of TNT. You listening, Troy? You listening, Winston? Then Works and Transport Minister in charge of URP, Sadiq Bash, appointed Francis as URP Administrator in charge of Region 2, Port of Spain, where Mark Guerra had embedded himself. It was the political maneuvering through the URP that made the Vegas gangster a national figure, and it was his ascendancy in the URP hierarchy that pitted him against Guerra. Both men had engaged in open warfare, with Guerra even shooting at Francis after a URP meeting at Solo Pan Harmonite Spaniard in Mova. Francis's influence in his community was such that during the 1999 local government election, he ran for the UNC and mustered over 2,000 votes in the PNM stronghold. Not one PNM poster could be found in Vegas or its environs. Then in late 1999, Francis again found that this status would be fashioned by the wiles of a politician, this time Dhanraj Singh. Singh took over the URP portfolio. Francis was sacked from Region 2 and sent to Region 3 in Mount Hope, and Guerra took over Port of Spain. This URP-funded alliance between politics and crime, seen as crucial for maintaining calm across the PNM constituencies of Morval-Laventille area, worked. Francis went back into Vegas and kept his influence in the community and his share of the URP, while Guerra murdered and plundered his way to Top Gun in Port of Spain. During the 1818 political deadlock, he was stripped of his influence in URP and the PNM replaced him with their own people. During the election campaign, PNM activist MacDonald Padmore said on the platform that Francis and the UNC were responsible for the violence in Morval-Laventille. In an express interview, Francis said that it was the ghost gangs of the then NHA refurbishing project and URP that was at the root of the violence. Padmore would later act as a go-between for Prime Minister Patrick Manning and Francis in a meeting in 2002. Manning met with Francis after meeting with Guerra and other heads like Kerwin Fresh Phillip. Francis never regained his influence in the URP under the PNM as he was seen as an opposition supporter. He maintained his influence in the Vegas community, and because of his political status, he was able to emerge as an influential gang leader during an attempt to broker another peace deal among warring factions in 2006. In 2007, Francis, through his affiliation with Sadiq Bash, appeared on a Congress of the People platform in Maravella, and despite his reputation for being involved in a host of illegal activities, including drug running, Francis was known for legitimate business activities. In one instance, he had secured a lucrative contract to build a wall around the Morval compound of Neil and Massey. Even police admit that Francis maintained some of his illegal activities, that while he maintained some of his illegal activities, he tried to use his influence to create stability in the ghetto. So when Winston wants to come here and talk nonsense about PNM corruption, and you don't mind the concern about the CPEP workers but not at the expense of PNM corruption and that nonsense. See where it started, right? You weren't concerned then when the UNC put a known gangster to run a region of URP. You weren't concerned then. That was okay. Where were you then? They facilitated not one but two, Mark Guerra and Sean Bill Francis, both of them deceased, both of them murdered. And look where they lined themselves with Dhanraj Singh, who was the only minister, to the best of my recollection, who was charged for murder. The majority of politicians in this country that ever came before the courts for a criminal offense came from the UNC. Majority of them. They will come and tell me about Marlene McDaniel and a lot of rubbish. Look. Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Dominic.
Hey, boss, greetings. I am good. Yes, Charles. The MBD cartel. I am good.
Well, it's good to hear you back here, you know. And don't let them people like Barcelo and Troy Smith stress you. If you see them, see if you can block them now. Right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Dominic, let me tell you something, yeah? I think we really have a bunch of ungrateful people, you know. Ungratefulness is worse than witchcraft. Particularly when it comes to the results of the election. How can the people of Tunapuna decide to replace somebody like Esmond Ford with somebody making the statement that a community center is a center for the community? Can you tell me what the logic in that, Dominic?
Nope.
Right? And then the gentleman who was at the helm of the pandemic, Dr. Terence Diaz Singh, lost his deposit too, and replaced him with some unknown lawyer. Right?
Yes.
Then you replace Labre and Comforting, disappointed in those so-called constituency. They get chained up. Right? Comforting replace Mr. Kennedy with this Unesto. Right? As for Labre, or I didn't want Mr. Mitchell, or I want to go with the so-called hustler of our labor union member. Then Mr. Faraz Alwari, or replace him with a retired school principal who has some issues with his own family. Hello, Dominic?
Yes, sir, we hear you.
Right? But as for Tobago, this appointment was so. Well, you have two powerful ladies as for countries, ladies and Ayana rest of the world. And you replace them with yes men who do have no portfolio in the government. Now you tell me something. What do you understand by that, Dominic? And don't let me forget about Sani Grandi. Toko Sani Grandi. They get a new highway. And I'll replace Mr. Monroe with Mr. Superman. Tell me what you logic and that, Dominic.
I don't understand you and see logic.
What is the thing? The master mustn't. Our listen of the year. You have a good day.
You too, sir.
And if those people are not bothering you on your life, block them. You have a good day, Dominic.
You too. Stefan Young, you hit the nail on the head there, boy. That money is for the THA election. And bet your bottom dollar between now and the THA election, you're here Fali singing the praises of Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. Can't do no wrong. Budget coming up. Let's see if they get what they ask for. Probably not going to get it, but I highly doubt they're going to cost the UNC the same way every year they used to cost the PNM. They ask for this and they get that, and it's insufficient and all of that. Nope. They need funding for that election. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
And congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
How are you, my brother?
I am good on yourself. I haven't heard this voice in a long time.
I'm fine. I'm alive. Boy, you don't make me feel proud.
Yes.
I tell you. So that's all I could say. I am proud of you, my brother.
Thank you.
And keep up your good work. So let me see if I can add something to it. Let me see. Add a lot. Let me see. Let me start with what we call this program I just said no more
CPEP.
No more thousand.
Yeah, CPEP. Yep.
Under Munilal, from that article that you read, Munilal was making noise for what he created, CPEP Marine.
Yes.
Right? Because let's say CPEP had 20,000 workers. Under Mr. Manning, remember the same man said to us, CPEP is only here to paint stones. And they discourage their community to accept CPEP. So CPEP was mostly across the east-west corridor, if we remember carefully. And a little piece in Shagwana and one or two places down south. But among the East Indian community, they didn't take it because Munilal made it look small, made it look like it was of no value to anybody. Up comes 20,000 and the People's Partnership and keep up at 20,000. Munilal added another 17,000 by creating CPEP Marine. That's why you can tell about flooding and this and that and the other. We didn't send them home. We didn't send them home. Their contract ended, if it's 18 months or 6 months after. We gave them the time, and then we decided that CPEP Marine was really of no significance. But they remain with CPEP contracts to clean their communities. So, when you hear they come back now to tell me about it, you know something you asked about? It's not 10%, you know, Dominic. We didn't promise anybody 10%. We stayed my target. I didn't say I was going to give them 10%. Mr. Alexander, could anybody tell me how much murders it had under the state of emergency? How many police killings it had under the state of emergency from that time to now? Anybody could tell me that? observe how many police killings. So the only way to solve crime, think about this. We have a group of people take a man from one prison and carry him down Chagarama, and they tell me it was a man going and shoot and miss. First, the commissioner of police tell me that have nothing to do with politics. But the attorney general tell me he stopped a missile attack from blowing up part of town. So who the missile was for? So the man they find with the hyper rifle last week, who he was going to shoot. You see, when you play with pups, you get bitten back. And you still get the work. You see who get the work, Dominic, to defend the state against the lawyer who take them to court, who had to visit the man down in Macrip or Carnage or wherever in Tetron, with the say had a mark up the face. They still the lawyer get the work.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yep.
You see who here work is it in the Minister of Energy? The man who's supposed to be who's supposed to be the state witness against that same man. Ain't get work in the Ministerial Energy or something, so?
Yeah, he's the chairman.
Trinidad, where we going? Have we seen or are we looking at what is transpiring on that? As you say, one man getting 70 million, like 3 CPEP contractors' salary for the month down. But he's saying no and find himself unproductive. Well, all you have to do is give up your work.
Exactly. That's
all you have to do is just say, yeah, well, my true purpose is not being fulfilled yet, and leave the job. But they take away your young pension. What he will be getting is that is pension, yes.
His pension, yes.
But you know they went to the Parliament to ensure that they get theirs. They closed down. Nobody tell me nothing about the youth camp and boot camp. But you know they're finishing that school, what they call it? What's that college that was going down in South?
The campus and
the DB campus? They're finishing the DB campus, right? But they ain't finishing the Port of Spain General Hospital, right? I hope we wake up sooner. But no, I wonder where heavy on PCL, I wonder where get work. And thanks for pointing out to that man just now that here was going on. Under Sadiq Bash, that is when Rasta and Muslims started a war. Right? That's how we are with Rasta City and Muslim City, right, brother? Because of their gang warfare, trying to divide communities in order for political mileage, like what you started in Jamaica. Enjoy the rest of the day, my brother.
Thank you, sir. Will do. Donna, I will not. I have no reason to block you. See here. Democracy is meant to uplift the people, protect their rights, and ensure good governance. Yet under the PNM over the past 9 years, democracy. When son, you need a dictionary, yes? You don't know what democracy means. I'll tell you, dismantle democracy. When it is your party have an internal election, and because somebody call for it and you vex and you say there's ni makaram and all kind of thing, and right, and then afterwards, so when they offer themselves to be screened, what you do? You blank all of them. Where are they today? Where is Anita Hayes? Where is Rai Ragbera? Where is Jinesh Rambali? Where are these folks? Well, we know Rodney Charles, he didn't know. He said he wasn't going back. But where are they? In the political cemetery. Why? Because they called for democracy in the UNC. And you want to talk about the PNM dismantle democracy. What utter rubbish. Do you know what democracy means, sir? Come on now. They're not easy, no? Country has endured skyrocketing crime, deepening poverty. Winston, go and sleep. Rampant corruption in a government that has repeatedly failed its citizens. Tobago is gone forever. for the PNM, and Trinidad seems to be next. And you think that that is a good thing. Yeah, so leave the UNC in power for the next 50 years, right? That making sense to you. That making sense to you. Okay? So let them run rampant and do whatever it is that they want to do. So the country has endured skyrocketing crime. So what did we endure for the last 3 months? What did we endure? Over 100 murders. What do you call that? That wasn't skyrocketing crime. The most amount of kidnappings for the year in Trinidad and Tobago took place in the last 3 months, Winston. What do we call that? The PNM was in power until April. We weren't seeing all those kidnappings. As soon as UNC come into power, 3 months, kidnapping skyrocket. Okay? You wouldn't talk about that. You said here, deepening poverty. So 30,000 people at the lowest end of the economic ladder lost their jobs. What will that really result in? Not deepening poverty, Winston? No. That will increase the GDP. And yeah. And we still have other entities that may soon follow. Forestry, CPEP, URP, the 400 young people who are working in WASA, all of these things. Unemployed. But you come in to talk about deepening poverty. So that isn't going to deepen poverty. No. That's going to improve the lives of these people. No job. And the government repeatedly failed its citizens. Okay. So you promised that you were going to deal with crime. You have not dealt with crime. You promised that you were going to give 10% to public servants. You have not even started negotiations. All right? You rode the back of all of these 30,000 workers. You claimed you would create 55,000 jobs. And what did you do? The first thing you come into office, you implement a hiring freeze in the public sector. Nobody. So the government stopped hiring. All public sector entities must stop hiring people. Such that you have doctors now, young doctors coming and doing live on Facebook and complaining that because of the government's policy to put a hiring freeze, you now have a situation where they're not hiring these young doctors as interns or whatever it is, and it's taking a toll on the doctors who are there because the shortage is now causing problems for them as they have to work extra shifts, and it's affecting their family life and so on, and they're suffering from burnout, and that affects their ability to be able to deliver quality care to their patients. This is a young doctor who came on Facebook and did a live. She didn't care if they fire her. But she is complaining that this administration's decision for a hiring freeze is affecting the existing doctors. But you promised we will create 55,000 jobs. Really? If you fire 55,000 and then you hire 55,000, you created nothing. Right? You're still at zero. I know that's difficult for UNC supporters to understand. Let me see what else. What else? You see here. Tobago is right. Okay. Let's see. So a new one jump on by the name of Rashid Mohammed. Your face showing you can't deal with the PNM laws, trying to sound educated. First time I'm seeing you. Who is you? And this will be the last time you will see me. All right. But let me respond to you. Being the idiot that you are. You want to know who I am? I am the member of parliament for Malabar Mausika. That is who I am. Who are you? Who are you? All right. First, this will be the first and the last time that you will be seeing me. You clown. I'm trying to sound educated, but here you are listening. How long have you been listening? I can't deal with the PNM loss. The PNM loss not because of anything that you all did. The PNM lost because PNM supporters were upset with the PNM. You see, that's something UNC supporters wouldn't understand, because you all could be upset with your party and they could do whatever. I know what you all will do. You will still run and vote for them. You will complain about the corruption under PNM, but when the UNC come in and there's corruption, all you hush all your mouth. And when PNM people point it out, you know what clowns like you jump up and say? All it was quiet for the last 10 years, so why are they complaining now? Yeah, so it was wrong under the PNM, but it's right under the UNC. Something very wrong with you all. If hypocrisy was a party, it would be you all. Right? The PNM loss, I can't deal with the PNM losing. I deal with it every day. So when I'm sitting in the parliament, I deal with it. When I meet with constituents every week, I deal with it. Opposition is not easy, But you see, I am not like you who would turn a blind eye to the corruption that existed between 2010 to 2015. You all will pretend as if every allegation of corruption between 2010 to 2015 was made up by the PNM. Not no corruption. No. It was just PNM propaganda. Telling me I want to sound bright. I'm pretty sure I'm brighter than you. That's why I sit in Parliament and you do whatever it is that you do. Idiot. I'll take this last call. Hello, good afternoon. Hello? 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 No, it's not. Thank you so much, J. Dimples, for reminding me. They said never argue with a fool because they'll beat you with experience. And the UNC send all the fools this afternoon to argue. Oh, boy. I remember PNM don't see about. Well, let's come from where this dotish talk about PNM don't see about their own. Anytime the PNM try to see about their own, is people like, oh, they quit the ball is discrimination and run to the Equal Opportunity Commission and run to the courthouse. All the programs that the PNM had under Foster Cummings, over 40-something programs in the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service. The PNM created a whole ministry to be able to assist persons, young people. A lot of them supporters of the PNM. What has happened to that ministry? What has happened to those programs? And the PNM created the Homestead program to be able to allow young people to be able to go to university to study for 2 years in agriculture. And when they come out of that program, when they graduate, they get 2 acres of land. They get money, $20,000, right? All of these different things that they get. The PNM did that. When Mr. Manning created the Laventille, that where the old Rumbun used to be there in Laventille, the institute. Well, they had an issue with that. You all prefer to see people from Laventille running across the highway and going in the labas, running behind truck. That's what you all see. What did the UNC do for PNM people? They were the government for the country. What did they do? You know what they did? Live sport. Live sport. That's what they did. Who benefited from live sport? Who benefited? And when it is they shut it down because of all the corruption, it wasn't the PNM there, that is Kamala Prasad who stood up in Parliament and read out the report. All the allegations of corruption, shut it down, and then told the same at-risk youth, who you all say in the PNM constituencies, don't worry, we will even though we shut down this program, we will bring back something to help you all. Nothing ever came. All they gave them color me orange, $69 a day for 3 months to paint some dilapidated buildings in East Port of Spain. You know what the PNM did for the last 5 years or so, or the last couple of years? Through the East Port of Spain Development Company, they set aside $3 million to provide grants of up to $20,000 for the same PNM supporters to be able to get grants to start their business or to expand their business. You know what else they did, Mr. Rashid Mohammed, that you don't know about? Eastside Plaza, New City Mall. They offer these people to provide them with space to have their businesses there at no cost. And for some of them, reduce rents. But you wouldn't be aware of that. The PNM set aside $20 million in the budget last year to provide grants of up to $20,000 to these same PNM people and to train them to start a business. But you all wouldn't know about that because you were only listening to the UNC noise. All of these things is what they did. To have the same people, David Lee, in the Parliament during the debate on the supplementation, the media review, complaining about how the PNM bill, the HVIP program, the Home and Village Improvement Program, building houses in PNM constituency, 77, 82, 50 something. But when you look in UNC constituencies, 4, 7, 10. Why are you all complaining? All they say the PNM don't do nothing for their own people, but they come in the Parliament to complain that the PNM built the most amount of HVIP homes in PNM constituencies and not UNC constituencies. You see, all they like to talk that bull spit because you all don't know what the PNM did to assist their own. When Mr. Hines spoke about it a couple of years ago at the Emancipation procession when he represented Dr. Rowley, and he spoke about this agriculture program where they were giving out lands to persons for agriculture. And when they look at the list of names of persons who are applying, he noticed that there was a shortage of persons with names of African descent. You know what it is? The UNC jump up and say, oh, discrimination, so that's how they're giving out the land. All they only want to give out to persons of African descent. You all don't ever come to the defense and always quick to criticize, but wouldn't recommend. Your government in power now, 3 months. What are they doing for people of African descent? You know what they did? They take away the jobs because the majority of people who working in CPEP is PNM supporters, or so they say. And what did they do for them? Take away the jobs. That's what they did. Put them on the bread line. Tell them, fend for yourself. See what you could do. In the 6 months or however long it takes us to restructure these programs, see what all you could do. Go by the factories and line up outside and beg. Go by the grocery and see if all you could get a little end to help all you until. That's what they did. Right? So it's PNM, some ungrateful PNM people who decided they vex, so they ain't voting. But I keep telling you all, the PNM only needed 15,090 votes to win the election. When you add up the 9 seats that we lost, all we needed was 15,090 votes, and we had it. 102,000 people who voted for the PNM in 2020 didn't vote for the PNM in 2025. And guess what? They didn't vote for the UNC, Mr. Mohammed. They didn't vote for the UNC. So with all the rhetoric, all he was talking about crime and cost of living high and all these things and painted over the economy mash up and they mash up the energy sector and all this foolishness you all were talking, the population still didn't buy that. You all couldn't convince these people to vote, to even hold their nose and go to the polls and vote for the UNC. And you know what? They're still outside there and they're not willing to vote for the UNC. So all the PNM has to do is to get our house in order and go back and meet with these people. And a lot of the reasons that these people chose not to vote for the PNM were just short-term things. There was vexed Dr. Rowley because he take the pay raise. Some of them was vexed because of how Stuart Young became prime minister. Things like that. Short-lived, there's not long-term things. So these things will be forgotten in 5 years' time. And right now, all of the rubbish that your government doing, all of the nonsense that they're doing in just the space of 3 months, rest assured, all those people who have no idea, when you see school reopens, I hope they love to deal in statistics and data. They will tell us in the first month how many students don't show up for school because they don't have the books, they don't have uniforms, they don't have, and just remember, some of these students would be first-timers who did SCA and who passed for secondary, whatever secondary school. The children of CPEP workers who will not be able to start school on the 8th of September because they have no books, they have no shoes, no bag, no uniform because the parents don't have the money. I hope you ask your government to give us the data on how many of these students who were supposed to start school didn't. And let's find out why they didn't, but you're not interested in finding out that. You know why? Because you're all about supporting foolishness. And that's the difference between PNM and UNC. When PNM people are upset with the party, they let them know they're upset. They're not going to support it and say what you think. You know what I do is we ain't voting. All you ain't doing that. You all could be how vexed with Kamala. Election night 2015, she lived all stranded in Renzi complex. Didn't even want to, she didn't even consider coming to give you all any consolation. Leave all crying and she going home. And you all still come and support her after that. No PNM political leader ever do that. Win, lose, draw, whatever. You address your people at Palisade House, right? And you go home and you lick your wounds after. But we take heart in the fact that every time the PNM loses, as Dr. Rowley said, PNM, we are not afraid to lose because every time that we lose, we regroup, we fix what we need to fix, and we come back stronger. And then the party that would have gotten us out of power, they serve 1 term, and then the PNM comes back. 1 term is all they need to mess up. It's been 3 months. And if you see nothing wrong with 30,000 people lose, I sure you were one of them who was griping about, oh, they shut down Petrotrin and over 1,000 people, 10,000 people lose their work. 30,000 is more than 10. You would have been among those probably because the last administration, the 4 divers who lost their lives, oh, they don't want to compensate the families and they don't want to compensate the families. And when the government told you all why they couldn't do it, well, they didn't want to hear that. We will never forget all these banners. We will never forget. Kamala promised, yeah, we will compensate them, put us in office. 3 months now. What compensation they get? They get $1 million that Stuart Young was going to give them? Did they get it? No. What she give them? The 10% they promised. Negotiations haven't even started. But that is how they come into office. And false promises, and like to say PNM means promises never materialize by rocks, so they're not ready. David Lee went through political malicious prosecution under the DPP. PNM sympathizers wasted taxpayers' money in the hundreds of thousands going after Lee. Yeah, you ever heard the name Franklin Khan and Eric Williams? When Kamala Persad-Bissessar came to the parliament and read a bogus letter from one Sam Danso claiming that these men would have tried to extort money from him and all of that, and they had to resign as ministers, and they were charged. You forget that, Winston? Winston, you were well, you're not ready, my friend. Anything you could come with, right? We have responses for that. Don't be a hypocrite, because money wastes for that too. And then Danso came and recanted and said it was the UNC who put him up to writing that letter. So miss me with this BS and one trying to paint this picture as if the PNM so corrupt and the UNC is the angels. All your stupidness and foolishness. Miss us with our rubbish. This is why I'm not doing the live so much more, because it's like you all, I mean, I don't want to block people, but all making it difficult for me, you know. Difficult, come if you come and talk with sense now. Come on and talk something with sense. Rubbish. Absolute nonsense. Anyway. You're right, Angie. The UNC left us in a recession in 2015. 4 consecutive quarters of negative growth. Ole pay a man $11.625 million to become the Minister of Finance, and that's what we got. 3 consecutive years of deficit budgets and 4 consecutive quarters of negative growth. Yeah, that's where they left us. From 2010 when they came in, exchequer account, right? The overdraft on the consolidated fund, 10 billion. They left office in 2015, overdraft figure gone up to 33 billion, permanent overdraft. What that extra $23 billion was spent on? Overdraft, eh? Just remember that. So they were boasting, they made the highest energy revenues in the country's history. Highest energy revenues, they spent out all of that. They raped NGC, bank account, and then still went and put the overdraft on the consolidated fund, the exchequer account, $33 billion in overdraft. Ask the supporters to tell you what that money was spent on. Mr. Manning never do that. Never put the exchequer account in so much debt. He built Napa, he built Sapa, he built the waterfront, he built schools, he built the Prime Minister's residence and diplomatic center. They built hotel, they built the Chancery Lane complex in San Fernando that Persad-Bissessar turned into a teaching hospital. All of these things were built, and he didn't put it. The UNC ain't built nothing close to all of that in the 5 years that they were there. And they took it from 10 billion in overdraft to 23. And the supporters like Winston and Troy Smith and Rashid Mohammed will talk stupidness and would never address that. Never address that. Up to now, Camille Robinson Regis told us 2 years ago, I'll be coming up on the 2nd year in the budget as Minister of Housing. External audit conducted by KPMG found $800 million in housing missing, cannot be found. When the auditors went out to do sampling, looking for one of the houses, couldn't find a single one. $800 million in ghost houses. She spoke about it in the parliament. Not a word from Persad-Bissessar, not a word from Munilal, not a word from Jolene John. And the supporters was griping about 100 million AV Jillian, 100 million AV Jillian, singing that tune for years. But $800 million in ghost houses, people like Rashid Mohammed, Troy Smith, and Winston Bachelor have nothing to say about that. But want to come here and talk to me about PNM corruption? You for real? $800 million, that will bother you? Almost $1 billion in housing can't be found. The money can't be found. The houses can't be found. But you have the audacity, the temerity, and the unmitigated gall to come here and talk to me about PNM corruption? Man, look. Something wrong with all, yeah? Very wrong with all. Folks, it is 4:32. All right? I did not intend to stay here this long. Manning was great, but Rowley have mashed up the PNM legacy. Manning did warn us. Yeah, he warned us about Kamala too. Lacks the political skill, lacks the political training, lacks the political experience, lacks the political acumen, and would be a disaster if she were to become Prime Minister. And boy, oh boy, did we see that. Boy, oh boy, did we see that. So when you want to talk about Manning, warn us about Rowley, you warned us about Kamala too. But all you forget that warning. Yeah, clearly you all forgot that warning. At least under Dr. Rowley, what we get? We got 3 brand new ferries. How many we got under Kamala? 0. None. All right? Under Dr. Rowley, at least in 2022, we got a budget surplus. How many surpluses we got under Kamala? 0. Zilch. Nada. And guess what? The next budget, and I'm putting it to you, the next 5 years is going to be deficit budgeting again. They talk about the reason why they had to come to Parliament in June for the mid-year review and the supplementation is because the last administration was underfunding and under-resourcing. You feel next year they ain't coming again with supplementation? What's the reason? If it is that you adequately fund all of the ministries in September this year, there's no need to come back for mid-year review. So let's see if come June, May, June next year, if you will have another mid-year review and what excuse they will come with. What excuse? What would be their reason or rationale for having supplementation or variation in June if you said the only reason why we had one this year is because the last administration was underfunding? Bunch of bloody hypocrites. Hypocrites. How good we? Yes, Sarah Pandey warned us about Kamala too. Jack warned us about Kamala too. All these people. No, and some of them ain't take heed. Let's say, yeah, give her another 5 years. Give her another 5 years. Where was she? Did she show up to the Emancipation procession? Why she didn't come downtown and talk? Dr. Rowley came every year except when he had COVID. Where was she? It wasn't important, you know. Yeah. I'll go up in the savannah and read her speech, but me going downtown. Forget that. And because them with the slave master name, not important. I wasn't important. Couldn't come to Senator Timal's funeral. Couldn't come to that. But I had time to go and stunt by Napa for the American health people. Priorities. Or you will be hearing me very much in the Parliament, Winston. Very much. I intend to speak in as many debates as I can, and I can tell you, I'm looking forward to the debate on this standing ground legislation. I'm looking forward to the budget debate. Rest assured, I will have a lot to say. Yeah, so you will be hearing me quite a bit. I don't intend to be a stump on a log in the Parliament, and the only time you hear my voice is to vote. Not at all. The people of Malabar Mausika didn't send me to the Parliament to be quiet, and I have no intentions of being quiet. So there is something else. Good one. Oh boy. I agree with you, Chris Hamilton. What we gonna do? You know, it is what it is. But as I said, take heart, they didn't win because the population was full. They won because PNM people were upset. We saw it in 2010. They were upset with Mr. Manning. They bought into the rhetoric about Manning thief and called a hard thief and this one thief and that one thief. They were upset because some of them didn't get the candidates that they wanted. The people of Arima wanted Penny. Mr. Manning didn't give them Penny. So they say, well, no Penny, no vote. Penny tried to get through in Laukita Talparo. She get blank there too. People say, no Penny, no vote. That's what they did. They withheld their votes. And they did it again this year. Hopefully this is the last time they will do that. Right? Hopefully. We have a THA election coming up soon. Let's see the good people of the PNM of Tobago. Carmine really asked TPP, what has Fali done in the last 4 years? What has he done for you all to be proud of? And on this note, let me leave with this. And I will discuss this in further later on, right? There's 2 things. One, the decision to extend the vacation by 1 week. As someone would have pointed out to me, yesterday, which I too thought of, is really to give them extra time to complete the renovations on schools, because that's one of the things they always used to complain about. The PNM had the whole 2 months and they do nothing at the school, right? And yeah. Anyway, it is what it is, folks, right? But let us don't give up. I mean, I will admit, right now we have a lot of work to do internally to fix the PNM, to heal the PNM. No, we'll do it, but we will do it. MH37. I feel so, though. I feel so. Fabiola says they come back to clean out the treasury and they are wicked and evil. Right. So, well. So I was making a point, but Fali really do nothing of worth that he could talk about in the last 4 years. So let's see what happens. I suspect that they're probably gonna go the full gamut and probably call the election maybe February or March, probably after Carnival, because he has until March is the latest in which it could be called. So the PNM has time to get its house together. Right, but don't forget the recording between Fali and Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. Right, that just seems to die, just like Audio Gate. All these things just die. People just forget about it. And Fali say he never denied it. He said he don't have time to deal with that nonsense, and that was that, and it just died a natural death. But we heard Mrs. Prasad Bisesa said in that recording that she had sent 100,000 or something so for the TPP or the PDP in 2021. That money had been sent through, I think it was Kristen Moore or something, so I can't remember, somebody. So $100,000 also was sent. Why was the UNC sending money to the PDP? So now they pretending, well, we're not part of the alliance, but the two Tobago MPs are sitting on the government side of the house. They vote with the government. You see them in all the government functions. So in every respect of the word, they are part of, just not officially, but they behave as if it's official. And they know if they make it official that is going to anger some Tobagonians. But I would remind them, in 2010, they also won the 2 seats, Delmont Baker and Vanilla Lintopin. And the same thing, Winston said that Tobago was gone, and what happened? PNM came back 5 years later and took back the 2 seats. Then as the Auditor General's report identified monies unaccounted for with respect to overseas travel and expenditure under the THA. Fali Augustine was the Secretary for Finance at the time, right? Millions unaccounted for. Where are the UNC supporters? Well, they complain, 2.6 billion, they can't account for 2.6 billion, and the Auditor General said, the same Auditor General told us in the most recent report, millions unaccounted for, vouchers could not be found, and all of these different things. Are you concerned about that? Nah, that's all right, because it's not the PNM. If it was the PNM in Tobago, oh yes, we want to know about that, the thief, we want where the money gone. Ansel, where the money gone? Fali, that's all right, man, we ain't really care about that. That's small thing. Auditor General report be damned. And the UNC doing earlier, they said, the PNM, they spend $20-something million, 23,000, it was 23,000 US or something, so for some handheld scanners or something, Ministerial Trade or whatever, 23,000 US. We can't get 200 US in the bank, and then they waste 23,000 US and all of that, but 7 million unaccounted for. Well, they have nothing to say about that. No uproar. For weeks they talk about that 23,000 US. 7 million TT missing, unaccounted for. No commentary. No commentary. You all dangerous, you UNC supporters, you all are a clear and present danger to this country. The things that you all will condone. And that is why the PNM will always be held to a higher standard, and April 28 proved it. And when the PNM upset with the leadership of the party in government, even while they're in government, that they're willing to put them out of government, to let them know we're upset. Only forget that. They could do what wrong? You will make excuses for them from now until the cows come home and put them back constantly. And when you try to talk about PNM, well, the PNM shouldn't talk because O'Halloran and Privat and PNM corruption, PNM was there for 60 years, and Eric Williams and oil boom and all that stupidness, and will turn a blind eye to your party doing all the wrongdoing. And then come and tell you it's PNM machinations. Something wrong with all this? Exactly. There was no consultation with Tutor, no consultation with the NPTA. They just doing things. But when someone want to talk about democracy, no consultation with stakeholders, but you just do that with no regard or care for the parents who don't have money to feed their children and looking forward to school opening, so the children at least will be able to eat 2 meals for the day, at least 2. Hopefully they will only eat half the box lunch and bring home the rest so they can have that for dinner, because they don't know if daddy will be able to get a little day work to buy some rice and peas, at least so they could eat that. This is the reality. And this didn't happen under the PNM. It didn't. Right? These people were gainfully employed under the PNM. And the PNM tried to ensure that they would have remained gainfully employed at least until 2029. And the UNC made it a priority. Out of all the things that they promised on the election campaign, they never say that they were going to restructure CPEP and URP. No mention was made of that whatsoever. None. Absolutely none. But they get in there, and of course, we ain't stupid. We know the intention was to feed your activists, to feed the supporters using CPEP and URP, and then they get in there and they realize, well, wait now. We thought the contracts were going to expire next year, so we could, tell our people who will strain for 1 year or just a few months until the contracts expire in February, and then you all will eat our food. Only to realize that the contracts were extended to 2029, and that affects or puts a spoke in your wheel to be able to use CPEP and URP to feed your people, to feed your activists and your supporters who come out with their hands also. And that is the only reason why they come and talk that talk. So many other things they could have looked into. But why did they choose to go and dig up in CPEP and URP? Because the intention was to use that to feed their activists. Promises were made. I heard promises were made to certain radio talk show hosts who was bumping the gun for them that they were going to get CPEP contracts. So when they went to inquire when these contracts expiring, we need to know, because we have our people lined up waiting to eat our food through CPEP and URP, only to be told, well, the contracts were extended to 2029. What? Well, look, we're going to create a bacchanal and a scandal. But we can't just shut down the program, fire these contractors. How we could do it? Because we had to feed our people, so we had to come up with a plan. Well, here we are. Shut down the program, fire all the contractors, claim corruption, and then say you're going to restructure and revamp it. Hopefully, if you take 6 months, by then, the existing contractors, the ones who are fired, would need to find new jobs. The workers, their workers, a lot of them who are PNM, will have to go and find new jobs. So by the time we restructure and we restart the program, these people would have already phased out. So they will already have jobs, so we don't have to take them back. And therefore, that creates opportunity now for UNC people to come and get the contracts and hire UNC people. So let's see how long it's going to take for all these former workers, especially the PNM supporters, for them to go and find alternative employment, so they will not be available whenever we choose to bring the program back on, however we choose to bring it. But they ain't fooling nobody, right? Because all these supporters who vex it all, you will have to find a way to keep them in your fold. You don't want them to be upset for too long, because you have local government election during 2027, and you need every vote that you could get. Okay? Folks, we will chat again soon. I'm not going to quote a day, because I'll tell you all Tuesday, and then Tuesday I just might not feel to do it. I'll say Tuesday, and then Tuesday I just might not feel to do it. So when I move to do it, I will do it. All right? So, When you see me, you just see the notification come up and you kind of tune in. And to the UNC haters like Mr. Rashid Mohammed, who was seeing me for the first time and who saw it fit to comment, that me trying to sound bright. Clearly, you just come. I'm not trying to sound bright. I tell it as it is. Unlike the UNC, when I say something, I back it up with evidence. I work with my receipts, my friend. All right? I don't just come and yap and talk things just so. I provide evidence. I could provide reasoned arguments. That's why every day I meet people who tell me, hey, we're missing you when you're coming back. You're doing an excellent job. People from all over the world telling me that. They like what I do. Reasoned arguments, not propaganda, old talk and chop it talk. We know about that here. And as my colleagues on the other side in the parliament will soon learn. Right? As soon as Parliamentary opens. Come back again. Faris going to jail. Faris going to jail for what? For what? I come back where I shop it talk again. When them both making the jail? 3 months. Going on, we had 3.5 months. All talk about $2.6 billion missing done. They were singing that tune during the election campaign. Money unaccounted for. Kamala come and she read out thing in the parliament about how much more money missing and so on, and money unaccounted for. How come all ain't talking that? You're not interested again? The UNC in power, they have access to all the documentation. They're man in central bank now, so no problems. He could just tell Jaiwanti, come, you do what you want. Central bank is you always walk in whenever you want and you go through everything, every file you want to see. You want to go through the electronic check clearance system, you could do that too. Them in charge. Helegon, there are no obstructions now at the central bank. While they were singing that song, oh, the central bank blocked the Auditor General and the central bank. Was about a month now at least. Helegon. She hasn't gone in yet to look, to get the evidence that all they say money missing and money thief. 3.5 months, no documentation, nothing to show, well, look, we tell all that the money was missing and look at here. They tell all the $63 million spent to renovate the Prime Minister residence in Tobago, even though Udicott was saying that is not so. Well, them in charge. Noel Garcia gone, the whole PNM board gone. Them in charge now, there are people there. How come they come with the documentary evidence? They call on Monday night forum to say, look at here, put it up on the big screen, look the evidence, we tell all over 63, look at there. We say 2.6 billion missing, look at here. 3.5 months, where all the UNC people who are singing that tune every minute, every day, all they're calling, lock up in boat and money missing, and where the money gone? All they're asking about the money again. You want to put pressure on them to realize that there was no money missing and that you all were just total set of rubbish, utter garbage. All they figure about all of them things. All them things. You ain't concerned about 2.6 billion again. Now they're looking for a distraction. I think that would be the best distraction from CPEP. Produce the evidence that $2.6 billion was missing. Produce the evidence that Embed lied, that it wasn't an error with the check clearing system. Produce the evidence and say, look, Embed lied. And we sending it to the DPP for him to investigate and charge him. But that's one of the best distractions you all could come up with. 3.5 months. No such distraction. You know why? Because no money was missing. And they have all looking like a set of fools all over the place, like some headless chicken, mindless minions, blind sycophants, singing that dotish tune. Ridiculous. Janice Batiste, you also a productive week to you and all on the live, even the trolls, the new ones, the not so new ones, the returnees. Yeah. We'll chat again soon, don't worry. Yeah, so enjoy the rest of your weekend. As I always say, if you're getting out, stay safe. May have some rain. True. Firewoman 1, no prison officers have been charged yet under this SOE. None. None of the prisoners who they say were involved in this plot to overthrow and to blow up the Attorney General office and to assassinate the Prime Minister, all them thing. All they did was remove them from the maximum security prison and they put them down Tetron and so on, but Stokeholds or wherever. But no charge. They were going to create to commit this heinous crime, but nobody ain't get charged after so long, right? The intelligence revealed that there were people working on the outside as well. Not a man outside get locked up for that. Where the rocket launcher? Where the grenade? No names? You all don't know where the outside parties living? Seeing that intelligence, not so intelligent. That was more artificial intelligence than real intelligence. For the one time artificial intelligence, not bright. Thank you so much, Winston. Yes, look forward to seeing me in Parliament come September. Right? Eunice, Bernard, Candice, Joseph, and others. Sedena Kwashi. We chat again soon. Vicky White says, Malabar says hello, and hello back to Malabar. You will be seeing me soon. I'll be drawing up the schedule to start working with my counselors. I intend to have a 2-day retreat with them so they can outline for me what are their plans for the constituency going forward. So we can refine those plans, see how I could contribute to that, and we could start rolling out. Being in opposition doesn't mean that your hands are tied. Right? There's a lot of stuff that we could do. I'm going to be writing my parliamentary colleagues on the government bench for things to be done in my constituency, and if it's not done, I will raise it in the parliament so the population could know. Because they were claiming geographic discrimination for the last 10 years, right? Let's see if they're going to practice the same thing. Because there are lots of infrastructural projects in my constituency that need attending to, and I intend to represent my constituents by writing to the relevant ministers and doing what is required to get the job done. Because that's why I was elected. So, my friend Jeanette McDonald. Hi, Jeanette. Hope all is well with you. Good to see you. Albeit not in the flesh. I look forward to your return home. So, blessed weekend to you guys. We'll chat again soon.